Chapter 1137. Oh. Xiao Chen scratched his head, secretly praising Xing's outstanding acting skills. Just like that, she managed to fool these two idiots. Situ Qitian continued in a serious tone, since you like Xiao Xing so much, then take her away. It's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. I will settle this debt with you sooner or later. At this moment, Situ Qitian was still admiring his own acting skills. After seeing Xing's actions just now, he immediately deduced that Xiao Chen definitely knew this kind of mind-controlling secret technique. However, he could only control one person at a time. So, after Xiao Chen took control of Elder Sun, that chick Xing woke up. Due to Xing's realistic acting skills, Situ Qitian had no doubts about Xiao Chen's strength. After he finished his high-sounding speech, he immediately used telepathy and secretly told Xing that nothing big had happened just now. It was just Xiao Chen trying to save her. After explaining, Situ Qitian immediately ordered Xing to continue following Xiao Chen using his status as the sect master. At the same time, he secretly investigated Xiao Chen's mind-controlling secret technique, as well as that black fog and bluish-purple flame. What kind of ultimate technique was that? Hearing Situ Qitian's secret order, little Miss Xing nodded at him imperceptibly. Although she didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the scene in front of her, she had no other choice but to agree first. Otherwise, if this deadlock continued, she could still pretend to be a fool, but Xiao Chen might not even be able to leave the open heaven gate. No matter what, Xiao Chen was here to save her. She couldn't possibly cheat him, right? Oh, if you want revenge, I'll welcome it anytime. Is there anything else now? If there's nothing else, I won't talk nonsense with you anymore. Bye-bye. Xiao Chen said casually. Then, he pulled Xing onto the flying sword and infused the rest of his mental strength into it. With a swoosh sound, the flying sword immediately took the two of them away. Soon, only a small black dot was left. Seeing that the precious flying sword that was about to fall into his hands was gone, Elder Sun couldn't help but sigh. Looking at the distant black shadow, he said unwillingly, Sect Master Situ, why didn't you leave Xiao Chen behind? Don't we still have two more powerful biohumans? If we can send them out, I think. Elder Sun, I notice that you're getting more and more muddle-headed. Before Elder Sun could finish speaking, Situ Qitian interrupted his words and reprimanded sternly. Elder Sun was startled and quickly bowed his head respectfully. He stood there, not even daring to breathe loudly. Situ Qitian glared at him and said impatiently, after sending Xiao Xing out to investigate for so long, he still hasn't figured out Xiao Chen's true strength. What's more, Xiao Xing is being controlled by someone else. Fortunately, she only came back this time to steal the information. If Xiao Chen instructed her to go to the laboratory and set it on fire, wouldn't our entire Awakening Heaven sect be destroyed? This is indeed your subordinate's negligence. Elder Sun admitted his guilt in fear and trepidation. However, he was a little speechless. He thought to himself, weren't you the one who said that Xiao Chen couldn't be killed immediately? Otherwise, that last Xing would have killed him several times already. Why would she need to make such a fuss? Also, what did you just say? Biohumans? You still have the cheek to mention biohumans? Situ Qitian became angrier as he spoke. He glared at Elder Sun and roared. Your subordinate. Your subordinate knows his mistake. Please forgive me, Sect Master. Elder Sun shuddered and fell to his knees. Although he didn't know what had happened to the biohumans, Sect Master Situ must have touched his reverse scale for him to be so angry. Situ Qitian took a deep breath and calmed his emotions. Then, he said indifferently, it's not like you don't know that the Venerate's secret realm is about to open. After that, that place will open as well. Where do we have the manpower to go and mess around with Xiao Chen? Elder Sun regained his composure. Only then did he realize where he had gone wrong. This was like picking up a sesame seed and throwing away a watermelon. For the sake of a flying sword, he had forgotten the most important purpose. No wonder Sect Master Situ was so angry. Situ Qitian sighed and shook his head. He continued, Elder Chen's action this time was not only ineffective, but we also lost so many biohumans. Of course, we have to leave the two most powerful ones to explore that place. How can we use them to deal with Xiao Chen? Isn't this a waste of talent? Yes, Sect Master Situ is right. Then we'll let Xiao Chen live for a few more days. After the sect has settled all the important matters, we'll find trouble with him. Elder Sun trembled again and said respectfully. All right, hurry up and prepare the relevant matters. This time, we must send the most outstanding people to the Venerable Realm to ensure that everything goes smoothly. Situ Qitian looked in the direction where Xiao Chen and Elder Sun had disappeared and added, as for Xiao Chen, I've already asked Xiao Xing to keep an eye on him. Don't act rashly for the time being. Yes, this subordinate understands. Situ Qitian touched his forehead helplessly and found that the place where Xiao Chen's flying sword had stabbed him was bleeding again. So, he gave Elder Sun a few instructions and turned to apply medicine in his room. Elder Sun waited for Situ Qitian to leave before he slowly stood up. His eyes were full of hatred. That damned Xiao Chen. He caused me to be scolded by the sect master. I'll definitely pay him back double in the future. On the other side, after flying on the flying sword for a few hours, Xiao Chen gradually felt a little exhausted. After observing for a while, he realized that no one was chasing after him, so he slowed down and stopped in a forest. He found a big tree and sat down to rest. At first, Miss Xing was a little puzzled. She didn't know why Xiao Chen wasn't in a hurry to return but had stopped instead. However, when she saw that Xiao Chen was sitting cross-legged on a tree branch with his eyes closed, she understood that he might have exhausted his demonic qi and couldn't fly anymore. After understanding the reason, Miss Xing didn't rush him anymore. She obediently sat beside Xiao Chen and recounted the mission that Situ Qitian had given her in full detail. Although Miss Xing didn't understand why she had told him everything, she felt that she shouldn't hide anything from Xiao Chen. After listening, Xiao Chen nodded his head and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Since Situ Qitian had chosen to let Miss Xing investigate him, it meant that before Situ Qitian found out his true strength, he wouldn't rashly send people to kill him again. From the looks of it, he and Miss Xing would be safe for a short period of time and could relax a little. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen let out a long sigh and let go of the worries in his heart. He deeply felt that he should bring more spirit jades with him in the future. At the very least, he could use them for emergencies. Otherwise, if he encountered a similar situation again, he wouldn't be so lucky. Chapter 1138. Just as Xiao Chen was running from place to place, there was a turbulent undercurrent in the internal martial arts world. Under the calm surface, there was an extremely ferocious undercurrent. Apart from the Jia clan, Tang clan, and Yu clan, as well as the demon sect's awakening sect, there were two special forces in the internal martial arts world. Usually, they did not seem to have any presence, but internally, they had extremely profound and unknown strength. These two forces were different from ordinary internal martial arts world clans in terms of their own cultivation methods and the items they needed for cultivation. Therefore, they usually formed their own faction and did not interact with most of the sects and clans in the internal martial arts world. However, the two forces always schemed against each other and fought for resources. Once they met, they would fight until their heads were broken and they were determined to see who was stronger. One of the forces called itself an immortal cultivator sect. It was formed by Song Huawu, Song Qingshu's Song clan, Hongzhu's Hong clan, and a few other less famous clans. However, they did not use the title of immortal cultivator sect when they interacted with the outside world. For example, the Hong clan appeared as a merchant clan, while the Song clan disguised themselves as a middle-level cultivation clan. This was to protect the secret of their immortal cultivator sect. As for the origin of this immortal cultivator sect, it was precisely because the ancestors of their clans had unintentionally mastered some unique cultivation methods that were much more exquisite than those of the martial cultivators and demonic cultivators. Therefore, this sect was formed by a few clans that had discovered the cultivation methods together. Considering that if the cultivation methods were to be spread out, it might cause other sects to fight over them, they usually kept a very low profile and only moved in a small circle. Although others knew that these clans had a close relationship, they would never think that they were actually a force. The other sect was the Ghost Cultivator sect, which corresponded to the Immortal Cultivator sect. They called themselves the Tranquil Forest sect to the outside world. These people were inextricably linked to the West Mountain in the secular world. Due to their unruly and evil behavior, they were not accepted by the world and were known as evil cultivators. Therefore, they were like street rats and did not dare to be too ostentatious. In the cultivation methods left behind by their ancestors, the Immortal Cultivator sect found a place where one could advance after breaking through the Venerable Realm consummation. They called it the Immortal Cultivation World. On the other hand, the ancestors of the Tranquil Forest sect had entered the Immortal Cultivation World with the help of the treacherous and cruel cultivation methods. They left hints for their descendants, hoping that they could cultivate to the Immortal Cultivation World as soon as possible so that they could enter the Immortal Cultivation World and seek refuge with their ancestors. It was precisely because these two forces had the same goal, and they both wanted to be the first to enter the world of cultivation. Thus, they usually secretly mobilized their forces and accumulated their strength. Once they met, there would definitely be endless conflicts. No matter which side it was, they didn't want the other side to get ahead of them. Apart from these, most of the sects and clans in the martial arts world were still stuck at the stage where they were trying to break through from Martial King to Martial Venerable. The path of the Venerable was prepared for these people. These people had never thought that there would be a higher realm after the Venerable Realm. This problem was finally solved when Situ Chitian of the Awakening Heaven sect broke through to the 10th level of the Venerable Realm. After Situ Chitian reached the 10th level of the Venerable Realm, he vaguely felt that there was a higher level after that. However, when he tried to break through, he could not find a way. After thinking for a long time, he suddenly thought of something. If a king could use the Immortal Cultivation World to break through to the Venerable Realm, would there be a similar arcane realm that could help in breaking through to the Venerable Realm? Thinking of this, Situ Chitian immediately sent out all the disciples of the sect to search the Immortal Cultivation World. He especially focused on the Venerable Realm. Finally, during a search of the Venerable Realm, the experts of the Chi Heavenly sect found an ancient ruin near the arcane realm. Based on some vague hints left behind, they learned that there was a secret path in the ancient ruin. It could be opened with spiritual jade at any time, and they could use it to enter the Immortal Cultivation World. When these experts sent the news back to the Chi Heavenly sect, Situ Chitian was overjoyed. However, the news that came next made his mood drop from the peak to the bottom. It turned out that those experts were so excited that they didn't wait for Situ Chitian's next order and tried to venture into the cultivation world. In the end, after going for half a month, not a single one of them returned. The people waiting outside felt that something was wrong and finally chose to report back to the sect. Situ Chitian sent a few more groups of people of different strengths to try. The result was no exception. No one could come out after they went in. Hence, no one dared to go in later. Situ Chitian had no choice but to rack his brains. Only then did he get people to develop those controllable biohumans. He planned to let them carry pinhole cameras and go in to explore the path first. Although this matter was extremely secretive, and the normal families and sects in the Immortal Cultivation World did not know much about it, it somehow spread to the ears of the Immortal Cultivation World and the Ghost Cultivation World. The leaders of the two sects reacted in unison. They laughed at Situ Chitian and were very dismissive of his method of entering the Immortal Cultivation World through the ancient ruin. There was no other reason. It was because they all knew that there was another easier way. That was, by sacrificing young women with spiritual chi, they could easily open the door to the Immortal Cultivation World. Hence, they would not send people to take risks in such an unknown place. In the Immortal World, Songning City was still a peaceful scene. That night, Li Sienna returned to the place where she lived exhausted. Just as she opened the door, she felt that the usually empty house suddenly had something extra. Li Sienna looked over and saw a woman in black sitting on a chair. She was shocked, but when she saw who it was, her nervous expression immediately relaxed. "Master, why are you here?" Li Sienna closed the door and asked while boiling water, "Is there something urgent?" "Actually, you could have just given me a call. There was no need to come in person." I heard that it is also very troublesome for the immortal cultivation world to come to the immortal world. Lee Siener finished boiling the water and made a cup of tea for the woman in black. Then, she stood in front of her respectfully. Siener, is there any progress on the matter that I asked you to do? The woman in black picked up the cup and took a sip. Then, she frowned slightly. It seemed that this cup of tea was not to her liking. Master, please forgive me. I almost turned the entire Songming city upside down. I even went to Lan City a while ago, but I still did not find a suitable candidate. Lee Siener lowered her head and stammered. She looked a little embarrassed. The woman in black did not look surprised. She sighed softly and held the cup without saying anything. Chapter 1139. Lee Siener bit her lower lip and added, "But don't worry, master. As long as you give me a little more time, I will definitely help you find a suitable candidate." The woman in black raised the cup in her hand and was about to put it to her mouth when she heard Lee Siener's words. She paused for a moment and put the cup back on the table. She shook her head and said, "I heard that the ghost cultivation sect is also looking for a suitable candidate. If you can't find the person before they find the person, I'm afraid that not only our 5 Elements sect, but also the entire immortal cultivation sect will be in trouble." Could it be that the other sects and families have also found nothing? Lee Siener was surprised and asked subconsciously. You can say that. Currently, only the Hong family has found someone who is barely qualified, but one person is definitely not enough. The woman in black nodded with a somewhat annoyed expression on her face. But master, it's too difficult to find a suitable person. Is there no other way to enter the immortal cultivation world? Lee Siener complained gloomily. She had been running around looking for a suitable candidate for the past few months. She had worn out several pairs of shoes and spent an incalculable amount of money. In the end, she still couldn't complete the task. There were too few suitable people. The woman in black shook her head helplessly. She stared at Lee Siener's eyes and said, "Actually, you also know that you were originally a good candidate. If it wasn't for the fact that your physique isn't very suitable for immortal cultivation, which greatly affects the progress of your cultivation, we wouldn't have to go through so much trouble looking for you." Lee Siener was slightly shocked and dejectedly hung her head. In fact, she also wanted to make more contributions to the sect. However, the indisputable fact was that no matter how hard she cultivated, she couldn't make a breakthrough. Currently, she was still lingering around the qi refining stage. This matter was the biggest sticking point in Lee Siener's heart. "I'm sorry, Siener. Master was impatient and spoke harshly just now. Don't take it to heart." The woman in black could see that Lee Siener was a little sad after being exposed. She reached out her hand and touched Lee Siener's head and said apologetically, "It's okay, master. I don't mean to blame you. I just feel a little guilty." Lee Siener raised her head and forced a smile. "After all, I also know that this is the most critical moment. If we let the ghost cultivation sect enter the immortal cultivation world and successfully find their ancestor, I'm afraid that not only the inner martial art world, but also the entire outer martial art world and the secular world will be in chaos." Lee Siener was usually careless and was no different from ordinary people. She was no different from the ordinary people in the secular world. She was always a careless person. But this was just a disguise. Lee Sienert. She felt, was like her mother. And Lee Sienert. She'd as she say. Siener as she could. Even after knowing that her physique was not suitable for immortal cultivation, her master was only disappointed for a while. Then, he searched for many precious heavenly treasures and insisted on giving them to her for a long period of time. With great difficulty, her physique changed a little, and she embarked on the path of immortal cultivation. "Forget it. Let's not talk about this." The woman in black waved her hand, trying to ease the heavy atmosphere. "It's okay if we can't find them. We'll use the most dangerous method to enter the immortal cultivation world. Forget it. Let's not talk about this." The woman in black waved her hand, trying to ease the heavy atmosphere. "It's okay if we can't find them. We'll use the most dangerous method to enter the immortal cultivation world. In short, we can't let those people from the ghost cultivation sect succeed. Master, Li Xianer nodded. Just as she was about to say something, she was interrupted by the woman in black. Come. Let's not talk about other things. Speaking of which, I haven't eaten your cooking for a long time. Let me have a good taste of your cooking today and have a full meal. We'll talk about other things later. The woman in black took out some vegetables and meat from under the table as if she was performing a magic trick. She waved them in front of Li Xianer and said softly with a smile. Good. I haven't cooked for a long time. My skills might be rusty. Master, don't blame me if it's not delicious enough. Li Xianer cheered up and smiled. She reached out to take the ingredients and threw her negative emotions to the side. She happily ran into the kitchen and busied herself. Looking at Li Xianer's busy figure, the woman in black's face was brimming with a warm smile. She was just an ordinary woman. If it wasn't for the troublesome existence of the ghost cultivation sect, she also wanted to be with Li Xianer. The two of them would live in seclusion in the secular world and live a simple life as mortals. Unfortunately, things often don't go according to one's wishes. That night, after the woman in black had her dinner, she stayed at Li Xianer's house. She talked with her beloved disciple by candlelight until late at night. The next morning, the woman in black prepared to leave. Before she left, she hesitated for a long time. In the end, she told Li Xianer that after some time, the Hong family of the immortal cultivation sect would send someone over. It was a girl named Hong Zhu. She would help Li Xianer find a suitable candidate. After telling Li Xianer about this, the woman in black seemed to let out a sigh of relief. She gave Li Xianer a few more instructions before leaving. After sending off the woman in black, Li Xianer returned to her room and sat down. She stared blankly for a long time before sighing. In fact, Li Xianer was very resistant to some of the practices of the immortal cultivation sect. When the woman in black had given her the task, she had tried her best to complete it. Unfortunately, she hadn't found a suitable candidate in a short period of time. However, there was one time when her master had let slip and let Li Xianer know that the search for candidates for the sacrificial offering could actually be life-threatening. After knowing this, she had a feeling of disgust from the bottom of her heart. She was especially unwilling to help them find candidates. She was afraid that because of her, several innocent girls would lose their lives. Therefore, although she usually went out, she didn't deliberately look for candidates. Just like in the past, if it wasn't for the fact that someone from the Five Elements sect was secretly watching her, Li Xianer wouldn't have done things like catching ghosts for the rich second generation and real estate developers. This was simply lowering the level of her cultivation. Every time she finished doing these things, she felt disgusted by her own behavior. Li Xianer had also considered whether she should just lay her cards on the table to her master and tell her that she wasn't willing to do these immoral and life-threatening things. But every time the words came to her mouth, she would think of how her master had treated her well in the past. How she had stood up against the opinions of the masses and found countless precious treasures for her. She had gone through untold hardships to help her embark on the path of immortal cultivation. Chapter 1140. Every time she thought of that, Li Xianer would lose all her courage. She did not know what to say to her master. Li Xianer also understood that her master did not come to the secular world in person just to have a meal with her. The sect must have given her a lot of pressure. That was why she had gone to the Hong family to help her look for someone. Alas! It seemed that if she did not do something serious this time, not only would it be difficult for her to explain to her master, she might even be punished. She might as well go look for someone. At worst, after she found a suitable candidate, she would tell them the consequences and dangers of participating in the ritual and let them choose for themselves whether to participate or not. After thinking it through, Li Xianer stood up, packed up the things in the room, and decisively went out to carry out the mission. On one hand, she did not want to disappoint her master again, and on the other hand, she had nowhere to turn now. She could only brace herself and go on. Hong Zhu, who was carrying the mission of looking for someone, had just settled Song Huawu and the other girls down. He told them that he would be away for a few days because he had something to do. He would ask the Hong family's intelligence network to help him look for Xiao Chen. As for Jin Beibei, Song Huawu, and Xiao Xiao, because they were not familiar with the people and the place in the inner martial arts world, and because Song Huawu had not recovered from the shock of suddenly learning about her parentage, Hongzhu reminded them to stay in the Hong family's house for the next 2 days and not to go out, in case they ran into any accidents and he could not come back in time to rescue them. After taking care of the matters here, Hongzhu hurried back to his base camp, the Hong family of the outer martial arts world. She came back here to prepare to meet with an important person and tell her something very important. This matter concerned the future of the entire immortal cultivation sect. The decision of this person after hearing the news might affect the direction Hongzhu would choose to take in the future. After returning to the Hong family, Hongzhu did not bother to greet other people. He directly walked to a very remote room in the backyard. Hongzhu, you haven't been here for a long time. I almost can't remember what you look like. Hearing the commotion outside the room, a woman in white slowly walked out of the room and said with a smile. As soon as the woman walked out, the sunlight in the courtyard seemed to brighten a little. Her beautiful face was not made up, but it was as fresh and refined as the morning clouds reflecting the snow. Her bright eyes looked as pure and innocent as a young deer, but they also revealed a hint of charm. She was clearly wearing a loose white robe, and when she moved, she was like a weak willow swaying in the wind, which made her figure even more exquisite and attractive. The leaves rustled, and her hair fluttered in the wind, but it was not messy at all. Instead, it made her look lively and perfect. Jingxian, don't forget that I've also learned seduction techniques. Your shoddy martial arts clearly have no effect on me. You should properly cultivate for a period of time. Hongzhu said in an indifferent manner. Although he said that, Hongzhu's gaze subconsciously shifted to the side, not daring to look straight into Shen Jingshuan's eyes. He could feel his heart thumping wildly in his chest. Although Hongzhu had no interest in women, just now, he had truly felt his heart move. Shen Jingshuan's angelic face already had an extremely great lethality to men. If she could pair it with her natural charm and display this kind of secret seduction technique, it would be able to stimulate a man's most primal urges. Even Hongzhu, who had cultivated seduction techniques, felt that he was a little unable to resist. Hongzhu couldn't help but feel lucky that he had made preparations in advance and arranged for Shen Jingxian to live alone in the most secluded room in the Hong residence. She was strictly forbidden from going out, and no other family members were allowed to set foot in that room. Daily chores such as meals were handed over to his personal maidservants to assist her, depriving her of any chance to meet with anyone else. Otherwise, with Shen Jingshuan's astonishing cultivation speed, coupled with her own superior conditions, let alone taking her out to defeat an enemy, even within the family, a storm of blood might be stirred up because of her. Just as he rejoiced, Hongzhu suddenly thought of the topic he was about to discuss with Shen Jingxian and suddenly felt a little unnatural. After all, this matter was related to the safety of the entire immortal cultivation sect, and it was also closely related to Shen Jingshuan's future. Unfortunately, he had never told her about it before, so Hongzhu really didn't know how to bring it up. Is there really no effect? Why do I feel like there's something wrong with you? Shen Jingxian smiled faintly as she teased him. No. Hongzhu's mind was in a whirl and he was momentarily unable to appreciate Shen Jingshuan's beauty as he absent-mindedly replied. Seeing that Hongzhu's expression was somewhat solemn, Shen Jingxian also put away her playful thoughts and asked, Hongzhu, did you come here for some other important matter other than to visit me? Yes. Hongzhu hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he didn't deny it. He nodded and said, You guessed right, I do indeed have something important to discuss with you. You'd better be mentally prepared. Hongzhu glanced at Shen Jingxian with an ashamed expression and thought for a long time, but he still didn't know where to start. In fact, Hongzhu knew from a young age that she and Hong Yan were born as rare women with spiritual energy in their bodies. They shouldered the heavy responsibility of completing the family's mission. Moreover, this important mission could also be life-threatening. It was precisely because of this that the Hong family rarely interfered with their daily lives, allowing them to do whatever they liked. Hong Yan studied in a pharmacy in the secular world, while Hong Zhu followed her grandfather to manage the business. These were all their own interests. Hong Yan was a well-behaved child, obedient and sensible. Although she didn't know the specifics of this important mission and only knew that she had to contribute to the family's path to a higher world, she never expressed any complaints and was instead very cooperative with the family. However, Hong Zhu was different. Her personality was the complete opposite of Hong Yan's. She was a little demoness who feared neither the heavens nor the earth. She acted boldly and willfully, so she was naturally unwilling to accept such a dangerous mission for no apparent reason. Since there was no way to go against the family, Hong Zhu simply came up with an idea and decided to find someone with a similar constitution to her to complete the mission in her place. Previously, when he had gone to the secular world, he had coincidentally met Shen Jingxian, so Hong Zhu had set his sights on her. Hong Zhu discovered that not only did Shen Jingxuan's body contain spiritual energy, she was also born with an innately bewitching physique, which was extremely suitable for cultivating his cultivation technique. Thus, he had brought her back to the martial world with the intention of increasing Shen Jingxuan's strength so that she could complete the family's mission. If his relationship with Shen Jingxian was only limited to this, Hong Zhu wouldn't have been in such a difficult situation today. Chapter 1141. Based on her little she-devil personality, tricking an ordinary person to complete a task for her was a simple matter, and she would not feel any guilt in her heart. But later, as the relationship between Hong Zhu and Xiao Chen grew closer, she gradually learned that this boy had already developed true feelings for Shen Jingxian, and that he was not just playing around. That was why she had told Hong Zhu to take good care of Shen Jingxian and not let her get hurt. This time, Hong Zhu was in a dilemma. She did not want to hurt Xiao Chen, so she could not bear to let Shen Jingxian die in her place. But if she did not let Shen Jingxian go, then who would complete the task? Could it be that after going around in circles, she still had to do it herself? Today, Hong Zhu had come to lay her cards on the table with Shen Jingxian. The ghost cultivation sect had already begun to move, and it was obvious that they were preparing for that matter. Therefore, the immortal cultivation sect's need for women with spiritual energy was growing more and more urgent. If this matter was not properly carried out, it was bound to be a mess. Hong Zhu planned to tell Shen Jingxian everything she knew and let her make her own choice. If she finally chose to accept the task, it could not be considered as him forcing her to do so. If she decided to give up, then he would not stop her. Hong Zhu's expression changed from time to time, sometimes worried, and sometimes depressed. Seeing this, Shen Jingxian also became a little nervous. She quickly walked in front of Hong Zhu and asked in a low voice, "Is Xiao Chen in danger? Last time, I heard you say that Xiao Chen was chased by the sect leader of the Kuei Mountain sect, and then there was no news of him. Is there any news of him now?" Ever since she learned that Xiao Chen had offended someone from the outer martial arts world, Shen Jingxian had been so worried that she could not eat or drink for several days. She had also lost a lot of weight. She even had the idea of returning to the secular world to rescue Xiao Chen. Later, after Hong Zhu's repeated persuasion, she gave up on this idea. Through Hong Zhu's analysis, as well as after she had calmed down and thought things over, Shen Jingxian also understood that with her current meager cultivation, it was simply impossible for her to fight against the sect master of an outer martial arts sect. Even if she managed to find Xiao Chen, she would only be a burden. Although she was unwilling, Shen Jingxian could only temporarily suppress the impulse in her heart and devote herself to cultivation. She strived to learn as soon as possible so that she could help Xiao Chen. Although she didn't mention it, Shen Jingxian was still worried about Xiao Chen. She usually lived alone in a corner and did not know much about the outside world, so when she saw the conflicted look on Hong Zhu's face, she naturally thought of Xiao Chen. Hong Zhu was slightly taken aback, his expression a little unnatural. If he had really substituted himself for her and deliberately sent her to her death, Xiao Chen would definitely hate him, wouldn't he? Seeing that Hong Zhu was not saying anything, Shen Jingxian could not help but grab her wrist and ask anxiously, "Hong Zhu, tell me quickly, did Xiao Chen get into trouble again? Don't be anxious." Hong Zhu came back to his senses and patted the back of Shen Jingxuan's hand to comfort her. According to the current information, Xiao Chen's life should not be in danger for the time being. However, according to speculation, he might have been captured by the inner martial arts world. Although Hong Zhu was actually not confident about Xiao Chen's safety, seeing how agitated Shen Jingxian was, she could only advise her with kind words and calm her down first. The inner martial arts world? Shen Jingxian was stunned and asked doubtfully, didn't he offend the Kuei Mountain sect of the outer martial arts world before? Why is he going against the inner martial arts world again? Could it be that the Kuei Mountain sect found help? The Kuei Mountain sect's leader is dead, so this threat has been removed. Hong Zhu shook his head and said, there seems to be a mysterious force in the inner martial arts world that is capturing cultivators on a large scale. I suspect that Xiao Chen's disappearance has something to do with this mysterious force. Then what should we do? Xiao Chen might still be in danger. Shen Jingxian frowned slightly. She looked so pitiful that people could not help but want to go up and pamper her. We are also looking for his whereabouts now. Hong Zhu suddenly thought of something and said, by the way, a few days ago, Xiao Xiao, Jin Beibei, and Song Huawu came to the Outer Martial Arts World Guild to ask for help. I happened to run into them. Do you know them? They are now in the Hong family of the Inner Martial Arts World to help investigate the missing cultivators and to find Xiao Chen's whereabouts. What? Beibei and Xiao Xiao also went to the Inner Martial Arts World? Shen Jingxian was shocked. Why didn't you stop them? They actually brought them into the Inner Martial Arts World. This is wrong. If they were in danger, how could we explain it to Xiao Chen? Shen Jingxian, who was gentle and demure, was also stomping her feet anxiously. She did not have much impression of Song Huawu. After all, she had only met her once. However, Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao were different. Of the two of them, one was Qing Menjing's cousin, and the other was Xiao Chen's younger sister. Usually, they held them in their hands, afraid that they would fall, and held them in their mouths, afraid that they would melt. If something happened to these two young ladies, wouldn't Xiao Chen and Qing Menjing's hearts ache to death? Jingxian, don't worry too much. They are both staying in the Hong family and never leaving. I've also sent out the Hong Shadow Guardians to protect them. After comforting Shen Jingxian, Hong Zhu lowered his head and hesitated for a moment. Then he said solemnly, in fact, I came to you today for another important matter. What is it? Shen Jingxuan's head was filled with the safety of Xiao Chen and Jin Beibei. Her heart was burning with anxiety. She did not notice Hong Zhu's face and simply asked casually. Jingxian, do you still remember the world of immortal cultivators that I mentioned to you before? Hong Zhu hesitated for a moment and summoned his courage to say, right now, there is a way to enter the world of immortal cultivators. It is a great opportunity for you, wait a moment. Before Hong Zhu finished, Shen Jingxian frowned and did not want to listen to him anymore. What does it have to do with me whether or not I can enter the world of immortal cultivators? Shouldn't the most important thing right now be to find Xiao Chen and then bring him out of the inner martial arts world safely together with Jin Beibei and the rest of them? Shen Jingxian was usually very strict with her upbringing, and she was a kind person who would never rashly interrupt others when they were talking. If it were not for the fact that she was really in a hurry and Hong Zhu had suddenly brought up a completely unrelated matter, she would not have so rashly objected. Let me finish first. Naturally, Hong Zhu understood Shen Jingxuan's anxiety. Therefore, he did not feel offended. Instead, he waved his hands and explained patiently, with our current abilities and information channels, it is very difficult to find out Xiao Chen's whereabouts, let alone rescue him. Do you agree with that? Shen Jingxian nodded helplessly. She secretly hated herself for not being strong enough. Otherwise, she would not have been trapped here and could only wait for Hong Zhu to bring her bad news. Chapter 1142. But right now, we have a chance, or to be more precise, you have a chance. Hong Zhu said solemnly, as long as you're willing to help open the secret passage to the cultivation world, you'll have a chance to raise your strength to a higher realm before that happens. You might even become a venerable expert. I believe you understand what it means to become a venerable expert, right? Of course I understand. Once I become a martial honor, I will have a greater chance of finding Xiaoqin. Shen Jingxian nodded. After pondering for a moment, she asked doubtfully, but there are still some things I'm not very clear about. Firstly, why am I the only one who can open the secret passage? Actually, I don't know much about the cultivation world. I only know that my clan has always emphasized that only young women with spiritual energy can successfully open the door to the cultivation world. Hongzhu paused for a moment, then added, but because no one has ever tried this method before, there may be risks involved. Of course, there is also a chance that nothing will happen. No one knows for sure. So that's how it is. Then what do you mean by becoming a martial venerable? Shen Jingxian frowned slightly and asked again, and from what you've said, it doesn't seem like there's a 100% chance of success. If you agree to open the passage, I will send you to a secret realm in the inner martial arts world in advance. Hongzhu continued to explain, this secret realm is called the Martial Honor Secret Realm and it only opens once every few years. Not long from now, it will be the day it opens. You can quickly cultivate in this secret realm and attempt to break through to the martial honor realm. Of course, there may also be risks during this period, so I want you to make this decision yourself. After saying that, Hongzhu sighed softly. Since he had already chosen not to hide anything, he might as well tell Shen Jingxian everything he knew and let her make the decision. In Hongzhu's view, opportunity and risk always coexisted. If Shen Jingxian was willing to participate, he could send her to the Venerate's secret realm to cultivate. If she did not agree, he would have no choice but to find another suitable candidate. If he really could not find anyone, then Hongzhu would have to go himself. So that's how it is. If I can break through to the martial venerable realm, I might be able to find Xiaoqin and save him from his enemies. Shen Jingxian murmured. She had mixed feelings in her heart. Recalling everything that Xiaoqin had done for her and the Shen family in the past, Shen Jingxian could not help but feel a knot in her stomach. Her emotions surged as she stood in the courtyard in a daze. Her white dress fluttered even though there was no wind, outlining her beautiful figure. She was indeed very eager to increase her strength and go to the inner martial arts world to rescue Xiaoqin. However, she was also very clear that it was just as Hongzhu had said. If she wanted to quickly increase her strength, she would definitely have to pay a huge price. Since that was the case, she had to think it through in advance. Shen Jingxian felt that she was the only person who had a chance to help Xiaoqin at present. If she were to throw her life away because of this matter, then all her previous efforts would have been for naught. Seeing that Shen Jingxian had sunk into deep thought, Hongzhu did not rush her. Instead, he stood quietly to the side and waited. After all, this matter concerned Shen Jingxuan's own safety. She would definitely need some time to consider it. Hongzhu did not think that he would be able to obtain an answer immediately, so he had already made preparations. It would not matter even if he had to wait for a few days. Shen Jingxian suddenly took a deep breath. She understood very well what the risk that Hongzhu had mentioned earlier meant. However, to her, Xiaoqin was an existence that surpassed friendship, love, and family. If she chose not to take this risk because she was afraid of failure, she would not be able to forgive herself. All right. I promise you. Then let's go now. Shen Jingxian collected her thoughts and agreed without hesitation. If she were to put herself in his shoes, Shen Jingxian felt that if Xiaoqin was in her shoes, he would definitely agree without any hesitation. So after thinking it through, she no longer hesitated. You've really thought it through? Hongzhu was slightly taken aback and subconsciously asked. She had originally thought that Shen Jingxian would need some time to consider it. She had not expected her to agree so quickly, so she could not react for a moment. As long as there's a glimmer of hope, I must give it my all. I don't want to leave any regrets in my life. Shen Jingxian nodded, her voice gentle but firm. If Xiaoqin had not helped her so much in the past, she would not have the achievements she had today. Now that she had this opportunity, she naturally had to repay him. Even if her life was in danger, she still had to press forward. All right. In that case, you should go and pack up now. I'll first escort you to the Hong family of the inner martial arts world. After that, I'll listen to Grandpa Patriarch's arrangements." Hong Zhu nodded as he understood Shen Jingshuan's determination. "All right, then wait for me. When the time comes, I'll have to rely on you to stay with the Hong family." Shen Jingxian smiled sweetly, turned around and walked towards her room. Stunned by Shen Jingshuan's smile, Hong Zhu only regained his senses after a long time. Looking at her graceful back as she walked away, Hong Zhu secretly said in his heart, "Jingxian, thank you. I admit that I'm a coward. I don't have the courage to shoulder the heavy responsibility of the family, and I even wanted to push this responsibility onto you. Thank you for agreeing to me. I'll pray day and night that you and the others can safely complete the mission and successfully rescue Xiao Chen." Early the next morning, Hong Zhu secretly sent Shen Jingxian to the Hong family of the inner martial world. She did not report it to Grandfather Patriarch immediately. Instead, she let her reunite with Jean Bebe and the other women. She also specifically told Hong Yingui to let them stay alone for a few days and report it to the family patriarch later. Jean Bebe and the others were naturally very happy to see Shen Jingxian. After arranging everything properly, Hong Zhu left silently again and went to the secular world to meet Li Xiener, preparing to continue looking for new women with spiritual qi. While everyone was worried about Xiao Chen, he had already successfully returned to the Jia family with Xing Qing Menjing, and the other women were finally relieved. On one hand, it was because Xiao Chen had returned safe and sound. On the other hand, it was because they had kept it a secret from Jia Muzin for a few days. As a result, even Jia Muzin was a little suspicious. If Xiao Chen had not returned, they would not have known what excuse they could find to continue deceiving him. Now that he had returned safe and sound, Xiao Chen did not hide it anymore. He told Jia Muzin everything. "Xiao Chen, you are really something. You actually went to Open Heaven Gate to rescue people alone. How can you be so bold?" After learning that Xiao Chen had gone to Open Heaven Gate, Jia Muzin also broke out in a cold sweat. He said with some dissatisfaction, "Why didn't you tell me in advance? I could have sent some people to help you. If something had happened to you, wouldn't I have been scolded by my grandfather?" Chapter 1143. "Oh, I was afraid that you wouldn't be at ease, so I didn't let Menjing and the others tell the truth." Xiao Chen shrugged and explained with a cheeky smile, "Besides, your guards aren't as strong as me. It's more convenient for me to move alone." "You." Jia Muzin glared and was about to get angry when Xiao Chen waved his hand and said with a smile, "All right, don't be angry. Awaken Gate isn't a scary place with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. That Situ Chitian wanted to make me stay, but didn't he let me leave smoothly? I even stabbed him with my flying sword." Although he felt that it was a little tricky at that time, Xiao Chen thought about it in hindsight and felt that Awaken Gate was nothing more than that. Even the sect leader, Situ Chitian, wasn't that powerful. However, what Xiao Chen didn't know was that Situ Chitian didn't want to kill him because he was afraid of harming the innocent. That was why he chose not to make a move. Otherwise, he might not be able to return safely with that Xing chick. "Ah. It can't be, right? Is that true?" Jia Muzin was stunned when he heard that. He had a look of surprise on his face. "Not only did you encounter Situ Chitian, but you also injured him?" "Yes. Actually, it's nothing much. I thought I could directly kill him with my flying sword." Xiao Chen curled his lips and shook his head regretfully. "Unfortunately, I only stabbed him between the eyebrows and bled a little. What a big loss. I didn't expect it, really didn't expect it. I heard that his strength has improved greatly in recent years, and he's almost unrivaled in the inner martial arts world. There are even very few people who can last more than 3 moves in his hands." Jia Muzin looked at Xiao Chen as if he was looking at a monster and asked in amazement, "I didn't expect him to actually suffer a big loss in your hands. It's simply incredible. How did you do it?" Although he always felt that Xiao Chen's strength was unfathomable, he didn't expect it to be so heaven-defying. That was the leader of the inner martial arts world's demonic sects, the sect leader of Awaken Gate. "Oh, it was like this at the time." Xiao Chen spread his hands and described the process of going to open heaven gate. This. After listening to Xiao Chen's experience, Jia Muzhen was speechless. This guy wanted to kill a venerable expert, and it felt like it was as easy as eating and drinking. Jia Muzhen could not help but secretly rejoice. Fortunately, Xiao Chen was on his side. Otherwise, not to mention the three big families, even the entire martial arts world would not be enough for him. Alright, the story is over. Do you have anything else to say? If there's nothing else, I'm going to rest. It's quite tiring to fly all the way back. Xiao Chen stood up and stretched lazily. He felt that the long and arduous journey on his flying sword was even more tiring than fighting Situ Qitian. Yes, I really have something to talk to you about. Jia Muzhen seemed to have woken up from a dream. Only now did he remember that he had something serious to talk to him about. What is it? Xiao Chen yawned. Little Miss Xing had already gone to rest with Tian Suruan. He also wanted to lie down and sleep immediately. Looking at the sky outside, Jia Muzhen said, "There's still some time. Go take a bath and rest for a while. Tonight, the Jia family will be hosting a banquet. The important figures of the other two big families will be attending. Grandfather told me that I must invite you because you are now our Jia family's distinguished guest. You must attend." Oh. What banquet? Even the people of the other two big families are coming. It seems to be quite grand. Are they here to discuss the venerable mystic realm? Xiao Chen asked subconsciously. To be able to gather all the people of the three big families at the same time, only the matter of the venerable mystic realm would have such great charm. Didn't that Situ Qitian also not make a big fuss about it because of this matter? That's right. It's an exchange banquet for the venerable mystic realm that is about to open. Jia Muzhen nodded his head with a somewhat disdainful expression. The other two big families want to take this opportunity to build a good relationship with our Jia family. When the time comes, some people from the inner martial arts world will also come. Actually, they just want to curry favor with the Jia family. They want to get more spiritual jades back so that when the mystic realm opens, they can exchange for a few more spots. Jia Muzhen felt very helpless. Although he didn't like this kind of social interaction from the bottom of his heart, as the successor of the Jia family, he had to attend this kind of occasion. I think they are not here to curry favor with the Jia family. They are mainly here to curry favor with you. Because after a period of time, you will become the official patriarch of the Jia clan. It is normal for those people to rack their brains to curry favor with you. Xiao Chen laughed and patted Jia Muzhen's shoulder as he teased him. Xiao Chen also didn't like this kind of occasion. However, since Jia Muzhen had spoken, he naturally couldn't not go. Hee, who cares about them? By the way, the banquet starts at 7 o'clock. At that time, someone will come to take you there. I should also go prepare. I don't know many people who will come this time, so I have to look at their photos first to avoid making a fool of myself. Jia Muzhen smiled bitterly and said goodbye to Xiao Chen. He turned around and walked to Jia Jinyan's study room. Xiao Chen shook his head and sighed. He could understand Jia Muzhen's difficulties very well. All big families were basically like this. Although he was a good-for-nothing in the Xiao family, he also had a lot of social interaction. He also had to pretend to be a playboy all the time. Although he was very resistant in his heart, he could only pretend on the surface. Otherwise, it was still a question whether he could live until now. Xiao Chen casually cleaned up and didn't bother to sleep. In the blink of an eye, it was almost 7 o'clock. He was not in a hurry to attend the banquet. Instead, he first took the control token to Tang Tang's place. He asked Qing Menjing and the other girls to help her change into suitable clothes. Then, he took them to the banquet together. When Xiao Chen and the others arrived at the banquet hall, it was already 7:30. People from other families and sects had already arrived. However, those people didn't seem to care much about Xiao Chen, who came late. They casually glanced at him and then turned their eyes away. They basically surrounded Jia Muzhen with a warm smile on their faces. They were bustling in line waiting to talk to the future Jia family head. Anyway, flattery didn't cost money. These people simply bombarded Jia Musen with a lot of words. From the extraordinary destiny to the secret love of a little girl, they pulled out all kinds of words from Jia Musen. Jia Musen basically could only stare and smirk, completely unable to answer. On the other hand, no one paid attention to Xiao Chen. He was very leisurely. He took a few girls to pick something to eat, drank some red wine infused with vitality, admired the food, and chatted about all kinds of things. Xiao Chen liked this kind of leisurely feeling very much. He didn't have to be tired like Jia Musen, who forced a smile, and didn't have to think about how to participate in the struggle of the big families and sections. It was enough to just chat happily, eat and drink. Chapter 1144. Isn't this my little friend Xiao Chen? Why are you hiding here? This old man wanted to have a drink or two with you. An old man's voice came from not far away. Xiao Chen turned his head and saw Jia Jinyan holding a wine glass in his hand and walking toward him with a smile. Behind him were two young men. Hello, old man. Xiao Chen greeted him politely and clinked glasses with Jia Jinyan. When he drained his glass, he felt that something was wrong. Putting down the glass, Xiao Chen looked behind Jia Jinyan and saw the two young men. One of the young men was Tang Qianling. When Xiao Chen took a closer look, he found that this guy was faintly emitting a black mist that shrouded his whole body. It looked a little strange and gloomy. That was why Xiao Chen felt that something was wrong. However, this black fog was extremely thin and faint. The surrounding people were very calm, and no one noticed it. Only Xiao Chen, who had an outstanding spiritual sense, noticed it at a glance. As for the other young man, he looked more normal. His looks were not bad, and he was dressed like a dog. He smiled at Xiao Chen, looking more amiable. However, there was not a hint of a smile in his eyes. They were extremely cold. Come, Xiao Chen, my little friend, let me introduce you to these two young up-and-coming talents. Jia Jinyan smiled and turned around to let the two people behind him stand in front of Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows. Was Jia Jinyan trying to build a network for him? This is Tang Qianling. He is the heir of the Tang family in the inner martial arts world. He is also the most outstanding one among the third generation of the Tang family. Jia Jinyan introduced Tang Qianling to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen replied with an "oh" and looked at Tang Qianling with a faint smile. He was mainly studying the black mist emitted from his body. Tang Qianling's expression was a little distorted, but he still pretended to be calm and nodded. Jia Jinyan didn't pay much attention to it. After introducing Tang Qianling, he pointed to another young man and said, "This is Yu Dongxing, my little friend. He is the heir of the Yu family. Not only is he powerful, he also has a strong business mind. He can manage the Yu family well at such a young age. He is indeed a young talent." Yu Dongxing didn't know much about Xiao Chen. After hearing Jia Jinyan praise him so much, he was very pleased and didn't bother to greet him. He just pulled the corner of his mouth and pretended that he had just smiled. "Hee, the three of you are all young people. There must be more topics to talk about when you are together. I'm just being a middleman. I hope you won't blame me for being too presumptuous." After Jia Jinyan finished his introduction, none of the three people said anything. Only then did he feel that something was wrong. Fortunately, as the clan leader, he was shrewd with age. He immediately added a sentence to smooth things over. Although the three big families of the inner martial arts world seemed to be harmonious on the surface, the competition was very fierce in the dark. This time, Jia Jinyan introduced Tang Qianling and Yu Dongxing to Xiao Chen in order to help Xiao Chen expand his network. He hoped that Xiao Chen would remember this favor. Jia Jinyan valued Xiao Chen's unpredictable ability very much. He hoped that Xiao Chen could give Jia Musen more help. That was why he made such a move. It was also for the sake of planning for the future. He had no other choice. Actually, Jia Jinyan was very clear that a cultivator with such outstanding ability like Xiao Chen definitely had his own ideas. He wouldn't always stay by Jia Muzin's side to assist him. Moreover, Xiao Chen had already told him that sooner or later he would go look for his father. It was even more impossible for him to stay with the Jia family forever. Jia Jinyan only hoped that if Jia Muzin were to encounter any trouble in the future, Xiao Chen would be able to give him a few words of advice or lend him a hand. He would be perfectly satisfied. In order to pave the way for Jia Muzin, Jia Jinyan thought about it. He didn't expect to be able to use gold, silver, or jewelry to keep Xiao Chen in the Jia family. After thinking about it, he could only use the Jia family's influence in the inner martial arts world to make some preparations for Xiao Chen in advance. Of course not. Thank you, clan leader, for your enthusiasm. Xiao Chen will remember it in his heart. Xiao Chen naturally knew what Jia Jinyan meant. He didn't want to go against his good intentions, so he casually replied. He turned around and nodded in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. He lightly said, "Young Master Tang, young Master Yu, it's a pleasure to meet you." When Jia Jinyan saw that Xiao Chen appreciated his kindness, he felt deeply gratified. He smiled and stood to the side. Yu Dongxing quickly responded with a smile. Although he didn't have a good impression of Xiao Chen, Jia Jinyan was still at the side. No matter what, he had to put on an act. Tang Qianling also reluctantly nodded and took it as a greeting. Xiao Chen didn't take their actions to heart. He only glanced at Tang Qianling indifferently. Suddenly, he said with a surprised expression, "Aya, it's incredible. It's incredible. Young Master Tang, a divine light shot out from the top of your head. Did you know that?" Tang Qianling suddenly froze. Why did Xiao Chen's words sound so familiar? Where did I hear it? But I couldn't remember it at the moment. And why did this kid suddenly praise me so much? Could it be that he has some ulterior motives? Jia Jinyan and Yu Dongxing also looked at each other in astonishment. They both felt that Xiao Chen was a bit strange. Jia Jinyan felt that Xiao Chen's words were inexplicable. It didn't seem right to say that he was praising him. But it didn't seem like he was mocking him. What was Xiao Chen trying to do? Yu Dongxing, on the other hand, was a little displeased in his heart. Jia Jinyan had clearly introduced the two of them to Xiao Chen just now, yet this brat only praised Tang Qianling and ignored him. Wasn't he a little too condescending? Looking at Tang Qianling's dumbfounded expression, Xiao Chen smiled and said, TSK, I didn't expect you to have such a strong physique at such a young age. You are simply a rare cultivation genius. If one day, you accidentally open up the conception and governing vessels, wouldn't you be like a dragon that soars to the heavens? I say, Xiao Chen, did you take the wrong medicine? Tang Qianling stared at Xiao Chen suspiciously. Xiao Chen suddenly approached Tang Qianling and said in a low voice, "How is your cultivation of the 5 poisons secret manual? I see that your face is glowing with pride. Could it be that you really succeeded in cultivating this useless thing?" Who said it's useless? Tang Qianling's expression changed and immediately retorted, "After I cultivated the second half of the manual, my level increased by several levels. Now, I'm about to finish cultivating." Before he could finish speaking, Tang Qianling suddenly realized that he had let the cat out of the bag. He immediately covered his mouth and widened his eyes vigilantly, staring at Xiao Chen. He was afraid that Xiao Chen would be tempted and come to snatch his secret manual. Chapter 1145. Oh, so that's how it is. Xiao Chen curled his lips and rolled his eyes thoughtfully. Suddenly, he stood up straight and didn't bother with Tang Qianling anymore. Instead, he turned to Jia Jinyan and said, "I'm sorry, Patriarch Jia. I suddenly remembered that I still have some important things to do. Please forgive me for taking my leave first. I'll drink with you another day. Goodbye." "No problem, Xiao Chen, my little friend, it's already my great honor for you to come to this banquet. Hurry up and do your thing." Jia Jinyan smiled and patted Xiao Chen's shoulder. Jia Jinyan didn't blame Xiao Chen at all. He had already keenly felt that Xiao Chen and Tang Qianling didn't seem to get along. There might be some conflicts between the two, so he didn't force him to stay. After watching Xiao Chen leave, Jia Jinyan didn't have any interest in continuing to chat with Tang Qianling and Yu Dongxing. He casually made up an excuse and left the two to receive other distinguished guests. Since Xiao Chen hated Tang Qianling, Jia Jinyan felt that there was no need to feign civility with him. Anyway, the family would be handed over to Jia Muzhen to take care of in the future. These grudges and entanglements would be solved by the younger generation. In fact, Jia Jinyan was already secretly regretting that he was too rash in his matchmaking this time. He should have asked Xiao Chen's attitude in advance. He only hoped that Xiao Chen wouldn't blame him because of this matter. Although they were very unhappy with Jia Jinyan's indifferent attitude, Tang Qianling and Yu Dongxing didn't dare to act rashly. After all, they were now in the Jia family's territory. They could only secretly endure and pretend that nothing had happened. Yu Dongxing was also very straightforward. He directly turned around and plunged into the crowd, talking loudly with people. Tang Qianling gloomily stared at Xiao Chen's back. He was a little puzzled. What's going on with this kid? After asking so many questions, Tang Qianling thought that Xiao Chen wanted to rob him of the 5 Poisons secret book. In the end, after asking the question, he just patted his butt and left, causing him to be vigilant for so long in vain. After much consideration, Tang Qianling could only assume that Xiao Chen was afraid that the honor mystic realm was about to open. It was unwise for him to snatch his secret manuals and become enemies with the Tang family. Therefore, Xiao Chen chose to give up and did not dare to kill him. Tang Qianling only calmed down after thinking that he had figured it out. He sneered inwardly, Xiao Chen, oh, Xiao Chen, don't think that you're so powerful. Wait until I master the 5 Poisons secret manual, let's see if you still dare to challenge me. Xiao Chen naturally didn't know about Tang Qianling's unspoken criticism. He took the girls to eat around the banquet. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, he saw that Jia Muzhen was still entertaining the VIPs, so he greeted him and indicated that he would be leaving first. Jia Muzhen knew that Xiao Chen had just returned and must be tired, so he didn't ask them to stay and sent them out. Xiao Chen walked out with the girls, chatting and laughing. Tian Souring suddenly thought of something and asked Xiao Chen, "Hubby Xiao Chen, what were you talking about with that bastard Tang Qianling just now? Sister Souring thought that you were going to beat him up in public. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the show." After saying that, Tian Souring waved her little fist. She felt that she had beaten Tang Qianling too hastily and it wasn't satisfying enough. Therefore, she wanted to find another opportunity to teach this guy a lesson and embarrass him again. Isn't it easy to beat that guy up? Anytime. Xiao Chen laughed and rubbed Tian Souring's head. But this time, I still have to give some face to Jia Muzhen and the Jia family's patriarch. It's not good to mess around at the Jia family's banquet. Alright, next time, Sister Souring will make him suffer a little more. Otherwise, it will be hard to quell the anger that I have accumulated from being bullied by him for so many years. Tian Souring pouted and snorted. By the way, Menjing, did you see Tang Qianling just now? Did you notice anything? Xiao Chen thought that beating up Tang Qianling was secondary. The key was to figure out what the black fog on his body was. Nope. I was busy eating. Who had the time to care about him? There were also a few rascals who wanted to strike up a conversation, but they were all sent away by me and Ling. Cheng Menjing asked curiously. Yes. It's all thanks to Menjing and Sister Ling. Ling Qinxue nodded. Seeing that Xiao Chen was frowning slightly, she asked curiously, "What's wrong, Xiao Chen? Is there a problem with Tang Qianling?" Xiao Chen nodded and explained, "Just now, I realized that there was a vicious aura lingering around his body. To be precise, there was a kind of black fog surrounding him. But I'm not too sure about the specifics, so I talked to him a little more. My initial guess is that it should be because he has cultivated the 5 Poisons secret manual." Tian Souring, who was originally jumping up and down, was startled. She thought for a moment and asked doubtfully, "It can't be?" Sister Souring also saw him just now. Why didn't I notice the black fog you were talking about? Maybe your cultivation level is too low, so you couldn't see the black fog on his body. Xiaochen casually lied. He had already noticed it just now. The others also didn't see the black fog on Tang Qinling's body. It was probably because he was a cultivator and his divine sense was extraordinary that he could see it. He wanted to ask Xing Menjing if she had seen it or not, but unfortunately, the young lady only cared about eating and didn't see anything. Tian Souring was even more nervous now. She asked carefully, Then I have also cultivated the 5 poisons secret manual. Will I become like him in the future? Seeing that Xiaochen was so reasonable, Tian Souring couldn't help but feel regretful. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have cultivated the 5 poisons secret manual. What if he became like Tang Qianling in the future and emitted black fog all over his body? Although it looked awesome, it would be too ugly, wouldn't it? Xiao Chen's husband would definitely hate him. Xiao Chen comforted Tian Souring, It's okay. It seems that Tang Qianling only emitted the black fog after cultivating the second half of the 5 poisons secret manual. You should have only cultivated part of the 5 poisons secret manual, right? Tang Qianling probably wouldn't be so kind as to give you the whole secret manual, so it should be okay. Speaking up to this point, Xiaochen turned his head and looked at Tang Tang beside him. Although her eyes were empty and her expression was confused, her body was still very clean. There was no black fog lingering around her. Tang Tang had also cultivated the 5 poisons secret manual. Her body also didn't emit black fog. Therefore, Xiaochen speculated that the content of her cultivation should be similar to Tian Souring's. Oh, that's great. Sister Souring doesn't want to become like Tang Qianling. When that time comes, I'll be black and swarthy like a ghost. Tian Souring was relieved and patted her chest. Although she also yearned for powerful strength, a girl's love for beauty still prevailed. If the price to pay was too high, she would rather not have this kind of strength. After chatting for a while, they had already walked to the entrance of Jia Muzin's courtyard. Originally, Xiao Chen and Xing Menjing should be in one room, and little Chick Xing should go to another room. However, as Xiao Chen walked, he realized that little Chick Xing had been following behind him. Chapter 1146. Young Master Ladyboy, why are you following us? Do you want to cultivate with us? Xiao Chen stopped in front of the door and turned around to tease her. Damn you, Xiao Chen, who wants to cultivate with you? Little girl Xing glared at him hatefully. When she saw the gazes of the other girls turn to look at her, she suddenly felt a little nervous and quickly added, I have something to discuss with you. It's about Awakening Heaven Gate. Oh, sure. Xiao Chen nodded and let Xing Menjing and the others enter the room. He walked 2 steps out and came to the garden with little girl Xing. Then he asked, What's the matter? What does Awakening Heaven Gate want to do this time? That's not it. Didn't Situ Qitian ask me to investigate your skill before? It's already been a few days. Do you think I should give the sect a call and make a routine report? I'm also afraid that they will be suspicious. Little girl Xing asked hesitantly. She had been hesitating for a few days. Ever since she came out from Awakening Heaven Gate, she had been wondering if she should contact Elder Sunday. However, because of the unpleasant things that had happened before, she didn't know what to say when she called. After thinking about it, she decided to ask Xiao Chen's opinion first. Ever since she found out that Awakening Heaven Gate used living people for experiments to create bio-human puppets, little girl Xing's impression of Awakening Heaven Gate had plummeted. Previously, she had heard it from others and still had some doubts. When she heard Situ Qitian personally admit it, her whole person received a strong impact. At this time, her feelings for Awakening Heaven Gate could be said to be love and hate. It was extremely complicated. She was even more puzzled and disgusted with Situ Qitian, the sect leader, so she was too lazy to use honorifics and simply called him by his name. Oh. Xiao Chen pondered for a moment and nodded. Okay, you can give Sun a reply and continue to help me inquire about the information of the control potion. I'll tell them that you didn't manage to get the information, so you want to use it to exchange for the secret of my skill. Xiao Chen didn't care about Qi Tianmen's suspicion. He just wanted to get the information of the potion first and then detoxify Tang Tang. The elder heaven ancestors said that the longer this potion existed in the body, the more harmful it would be to the body. He couldn't delay it any longer. Little Xing replied with an, "Oh," and lowered her head to take out her phone. Xiao Chen suddenly thought of something and added, "But you have to be careful when you make the report. I'm guessing that they're wary of you and think that you're under my control. That's why you called them." Little Xing shrugged noncommittally and took out her new cell phone. Xiao Chen glanced at it and almost burst out laughing. He pointed at her cell phone and teased, "I say, young master transvestite, isn't your cell phone a little too shiny and cute? This is completely inconsistent with your character. TSK, what do you know? I like this kind of cell phone, can't I?" Little Xing glared at Xiao Chen fiercely, lowered her head, and opened up her contact list, looking for elder son's number. Xiao Chen smiled but didn't say anything. He didn't expect that Little Xing, who usually looked serious, was like an innocent little girl. But this was normal, girls should be like this. Little Xing had already found the number. She pressed the call button and made a shushing gesture to Xiao Chen, "Shoo. Don't say anything, it'll be troublesome if we get exposed later." On the other side, Elder Son picked up his cell phone and looked at Little Xing's name on the screen. He frowned and didn't know whether he should answer the call or not. After a moment of silence, Elder Son pressed the button to answer the call. He then said in a calm tone, "Little Xing. How's the mission? Did you find out about Xiao Chen's skill?" This. Reporting to Elder Son, "I tried asking a few times in the past few days, but Xiao Chen has always been very cautious. He didn't tell me any secrets about his skill." Little Xing's voice was a little weak, but she still pretended to be calm and continued, "I thought about it. If you can help me get the information about the medicine from last time, I might be able to use it as a bargaining chip to make a deal with him." This was the first time Little Xing reported to the sect after she left with Xiao Chen. So she didn't have much confidence. She was a little nervous, and her palms were sweating. "Is that so?" Elder Son didn't immediately agree to Little Xing's request. He first dragged out his voice as if he was thinking, then suddenly asked, "Little Xing, do you remember the first mission you accepted?" "Ah. I remember. It was an enemy sect that came to challenge the sect. I defeated all 11 of them, and they retreated with their tails between their legs." Little Xing was stunned for a moment, then subconsciously replied, "When is sect leader Sidhu's birthday? Do you still remember who the founder of the Open Heaven Gate was? Is your room on the left or right side of the Open Heaven Gate? Also." Elder Son immediately asked a series of questions. He didn't even seem to be out of breath. "Sect leader Sidhu's birthday is..." Little Xing already understood the purpose of Elder Son's questions. It was obvious that he was testing to see if she was under Xiao Chen's control when she made the call. She immediately relaxed and said the correct answer unhurriedly. Then, she pretended to be anxious and asked, "Elder Son, why are you suddenly asking me these questions? Did something big happen in the sect? Should I hurry back?" No need, no need. It's nothing. I was just asking casually. Old people have bad memories. Important things should be mentioned more often." Little Xing answered all the questions correctly. Elder Son was naturally very satisfied. However, he still cursed in his heart, what kind of big thing could happen in the Open Heaven Gate? Isn't the most troublesome person you are? If it wasn't for the fact that you were inexplicably controlled by Xiao Chen, I wouldn't have wasted so much time asking so many questions to test you. So it's like that. Little Xing nodded her head and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. She couldn't help but admire Xiao Chen. He actually guessed Elder Son's possible reaction. Grumbling was one thing, but Elder Son was certain that little Chick Xing wasn't being controlled, so he finally let his guard down. Recalling her earlier suggestion, he said coldly, "I definitely can't give you the information on those medicines. However, I can explain to you the effects of the medicines, or some other information in this area. You can use these things to negotiate with Xiaoqin. Little Xing raised her head and glanced at Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin's divine sense was extraordinary. He could actually hear the contents of their conversation clearly. He nodded slightly at little Xing. Before little Xing could agree, elder son suddenly asked, "That's right. Why does Xiaoqin want this information so badly?" Chapter 1147. Here's the thing. There's a woman named Tang Tang around Xiaoqin. Someone wanted to control her, so they injected her with the medicine developed by our sect, causing her to become a little dull. Xiaoqin wanted to restore her to her original state, so he asked me to steal the information, Xing Chick explained. Tang Tang. Elder son repeated the name several times, but he had no recollection of it in his mind. Lady Xing suddenly had a flash of inspiration and added, "If the information is not enough, you can also give me the antidote for this drug, and I will pass it to Xiaoqin. This way, I can gain his trust, and from there, I can get more information about him." Xiaoqin smiled bitterly and secretly shook his head. This girl was still too naive. He didn't even want to give her the information, so how could he give her the antidote? "I can't give you the antidote either." Sure enough, elder's son immediately refused, and then said, "But I can help you find out what kind of medicine this Tang Tang was injected with, and then I will tell you how to cure it." "Well, okay then. Tang Tang is controlled through a token, so it should be easy to find." Xing Chick had no choice but to describe the token to see if elder son could remember it. Before Xing Lass could finish her sentence, elder son suddenly thought of something and interrupted her. "Wait. The token you mentioned just now, is it completely black and made of ebony? Is there our Awakening Sect's logo on the top of the token?" Yes. It's exactly as you said." "You remember it?" Xing Chick quickly replied. "That's a lot easier. I was wondering why I couldn't remember this person's name, so that's it." Elder son slapped his thigh and connected the dots. "The medicine you're talking about is the first generation of medicine developed by Awakening Sect. After taking the medicine, it is controlled through the token. At that time, we gave this medicine to the 3 families to test. I guess that girl was the one they found." "Yes, it should be the Tang family's test subject, and then she was saved by Xiaoqin. But he didn't seem to know how to control Tang Tang, so he let her be in a daze every day." Xing Chick also said in a tone of sudden realization. "TSK, what does he know? This kind of medicine requires the initiator to use a certain method to make the user obey the order through the token. He's not the controller, so of course he doesn't know." Elder son snorted disdainfully. Then, with a hint of pride, he said, "Fortunately, we have already considered this. Everyone who has consumed the potion, although their minds will be controlled, they will still retain the consciousness to cultivate on their own. Therefore, even if no one is controlling them, they will still cultivate on their own, ensuring that their strength will not regress. So that's how it is. Then what's the cure for this kind of drug?" Little Lady Xing asked with a frown. This elder son blabbered on for so long, but he still didn't get to the point. "Oh, this drug was developed in a hurry, so there was no antidote." Elder son's first sentence caused Lady Xing's and Xiaoqian's expressions to change at the same time. However, elder son immediately added, "However, we later discovered that this medicine is only effective on cultivators below the honorable level. If the person being controlled has reached the honorable level, the medicine will no longer be effective. Therefore, our Awakening Heaven sect developed the 2nd generation of cyborgs. They are also effective on honorables and can be used from a distance." Elder son's voice stopped abruptly. He suddenly realized that he had said too much. "Okay, that's all I can tell you." Elder son immediately stopped and changed the topic. "Hurry up and exchange for Xiaoqian's secret. Don't fail again this time." Only a honorable level master can automatically remove it. Is there no other way?" Little Lady Xing was anxious and asked repeatedly. However, before she could finish, she heard a beep-beep sound from the other end of the phone. Obviously, elder son had hung up the phone. Little Lady Xing was so angry that she almost smashed the phone. What the hell is this elder son doing? What's the use of giving this little information? What Xiaochen wanted was a solution, but there was no antidote at the moment. He could only let Tang Tang advance to the honorable level. How was that possible? This was simply inexplicable. Looking at little Lady Xing's furrowed brows and angry face, Xiaochen felt a little helpless. Although he didn't know if elder son was just making excuses when he said there was no antidote, the possibility of getting the antidote at the moment was not very high. It was just that rashly wanting Tang Tang to advance to the honorable level was not that easy. Xiaochen, I'm sorry. I wasn't able to get the antidote from Elder Sunday. It seems that you have to think of another way. Little Lady Xing put down the phone and sighed. Looking at Xiaochen's serious expression, she felt a little guilty in her heart. It's all Open Heaven Sect's fault. They actually researched such a harmful drug when they had nothing better to do. Moreover, they want me to work like a slave for this despicable sect and help them harm others. Sigh, I actually didn't realize this before. I must have been blind. It's okay. This can't be blamed on you. I will think of another way. Xiaochen patted little Lady Xing's shoulder and shrugged. Isn't it just advancing to the honorable level? For me, it's a piece of cake. You don't have to comfort me. This is cultivation. It's not that easy. Little Lady Xing did not believe what Xiaochen said at all. She was still depressed. Xiaochen smiled and said, have you forgotten? The honorable secret realm is about to open. When that time comes, I will bring Tang Tang along. It won't take long for her to become an honorable level master. But it's not as easy as you think it is to become an honorable level master. Little Lady Xing said worriedly. Although I haven't been to the honorable secret realm myself, I heard that many talented martial kings and demon kings failed to come out after entering the secret realm. Some of them are still in the secret realm to this day. Are you sure you want to bring Tang Tang to risk her life? Don't worry. I will prepare everything in advance. I won't let Tang Tang encounter any danger. Xiaochen looked very confident. For Xiaochen, the number of spiritual jades was no longer a problem. He only needed to enter the honorable secret realm and find a secluded place to spend some time cultivating with Tang Tang. He believed that she would be able to improve her strength very quickly. However, just now, Xiaochen suddenly remembered that he had another problem to solve before entering the secret realm. Tang Tang should be the same as Tian Suruan. She had only cultivated a portion of the 5 Poisons secret manual. This could be seen from the difference between the two women and Tang Qianling. They did not emit a black mist. Xiaochen happened to have the complete handwritten copy of the 5 Poisons secret manual on him, as well as a pill that could assist in cultivation. Xiaochen guessed that this pill should be the right medicine to remove the black fog from his body, the side effects of cultivation. Chapter 1148. Since he had to improve Tang Tang's strength now, he could let Tang Tang cultivate with him first and finish cultivating the entire 5 Poison scripture. If he could improve Tang Tang to the great perfection of Demon King level 10, it would be easier for him to go to the Venerable Realm. Little Chick Xing didn't know what Xiaochen was thinking. She thought of the many cultivators in Awakening Heaven's sect who didn't manage to advance successfully and felt very uneasy. She bit her lower lip and asked, why don't I give Elder Sun another call and see if I can ask him for an antidote? There's no need for that. Since Sun doesn't know what's good for him, I'll make him pay sooner or later. Xiaochen shook his head. He didn't want to see little Miss Xing begging for help, so he directly rejected her suggestion. But little Miss Xing wanted to argue, but Xiaochen patted her head and said with a smile, all right, go back to your room and rest first. You don't have to worry about Tang Tang. When she recovers, report to Awakening Gate, just make up a few random sources of skills. Say that I told you, so you can explain yourself. Then. All right. Little Miss Xing nodded and walked back to her room with Xiaochen. The two of them walked to a fork in the road, and little Miss Xing suddenly remembered something. Just as she was about to speak, she saw Xiaochen walking in the direction of Tang Tang's room in a hurry. Little Miss Xing thought about it and gave up on the idea. She turned around and walked to her room, but she was stopped by Xiaochen before she could go far. "Oh right, Xing Gongzi, when the Venerable Realm opens, go in with us." Xiaochen stood far away and said with a smile, "Your current strength is too low. It's not enough. When the time comes, I'll help you advance to the Venerable Realm. This way, I'll have a good helper by my side in the future." Although Xiaochen left in a hurry just now, he still saw little Miss Xing's hesitant expression from the corner of his eye. He thought for a moment and knew what she wanted to say. However, he felt guilty and didn't want to say more, so he took the initiative to invite her. "Really? You're not fooling me, are you?" Little girl Xing's eyes lit up. She felt a little flattered, but her happiness did not last for long before her face darkened again. "But, going to the Venerable Realm requires 100 pieces of spirit jades. The spirit jades I saved up are still in the open heaven gate. I'm afraid I can't." Before little Miss Xing could finish, Xiaochen waved his hand and said, "Isn't it just 100 spiritual jades? I can just walk around Tianyu Jade Mine. Tianyu Jade Mine. I can get it. Jade Gongzi Jade." Little Miss Xing, who was originally very grateful, was instantly rendered speechless. She had painstakingly saved up a few years of spiritual jades. It was not easy for her to accumulate the amount, but in the end, it was useless. Xiaochen, who used to look down on her, was now a big shot in the Jia family. Not to mention 100 spiritual jades, he could even go in and out of a high-grade spiritual jade mine freely. She was envious of him. However, when she thought about how she had tried to frame Xiaochen several times in the past, she didn't expect him to not care at all. He even took the initiative to bring her into the Venerable Secret Realm and specially prepared spiritual jades for her. She was quite touched. Actually, from the looks of it, Xiaochen was pretty good. Not only was he powerful, but he also knew how to take care of others. This could be seen from how much he cared about Tang Tang. No wonder so many girls liked her. If she became his girlfriend, she would be very happy, wouldn't she? Pfft. Young Master Xing, why are you so shameless? No, I have to be more reserved. How could I lower my status to chase after Xiaochen for 100 spiritual jades? That's too low. Plus, he's a bad person. If he knows that I like him, he might make fun of me. Forget it, I'll observe him for a while. Xing Tianyu walked back to her room while thinking. Along the way, she was absent-minded and blushed. This scene fell into Xiaochen's eyes. Xiaochen couldn't help but smile helplessly. This little girl was so strange. He didn't know what she was thinking. However, she was usually very strange. In any case, Xiaochen was already used to it and didn't pay it much attention. After walking into Qing Menjing's room, Xiaochen briefly explained the reason and brought Tang Tang out. He was prepared to let Tang Tang cultivate the second half of the 5 Poisons secret manual at night. This was to prevent any accidents from happening. Standing in the garden, Xiaochen said softly to Tang Tang, "Tang Tang, let's go to another room to cultivate." Although her eyes were empty and her actions were dull, looking like a vegetable, Xiaochen still treated her as a normal person. Considering the danger of the 5 Poisons secret manual, Xiaochen was afraid that if he stayed with the other girls, there would be unpredictable situations. So, he took Tang Tang to another unoccupied room in the yard. After entering the room and closing the door, Xiaochen supported Tang Tang and sat cross-legged on the ground. He first took out the 5 Poisons secret manual and roughly flipped through it. After confirming the position of the second half, he placed it on the ground in front of Tang Tang. Considering that if she directly cultivated the second half of the 5 Poisons secret manual, there might be a black fog problem. So, Xiaochen first took out the elixir he got from the ancient ruins and stuffed it into Tang Tang's mouth. Then, he used his primordial qi to make her swallow it. After Tang Tang took the elixir, Xiaochen pushed the 5 poisons secret manual in front of her. Tang Tang lowered her eyes and did not know whether she was looking at it or not. With Xiaochen's divine awareness, he could only feel that Tang Tang was cultivating. The way the aura flowed in her body should be the way of the 5 poisons secret manual, but Xiaochen did not know to what extent she had cultivated it. In desperation, Xiaochen had to rely on his feelings and opened the secret manual page by page. He let Tang Tang read while cultivating. Fortunately, his arm strength was amazing. Even if he held the secret manual for a whole day, he would not feel tired. After about 2 hours, Xiaochen had turned the entire secret manual. Tang Tang seemed to have finished her cultivation and began to adjust her breath. Xiaochen couldn't wait to feel Tang Tang's wrist pulse. He wanted to see if her strength had increased. But to his surprise, Tang Tang did not upgrade. She still maintained the original state and did not make any progress at all. No way. Is there a mistake in the secret manual? It should be impossible. Xiaochen took back the secret manual and looked through it. He was very surprised and said to himself. He had read the original version of the 5 poisons secret manual before. Because of the ability of a cultivator, he had a photographic memory. So, Xiaochen had already remembered the original version in his heart. But when he flipped through the entire secret manual and compared it with the original secret manual in his mind, he did not find any mistakes. Chapter 1149. Xiaochen was a little puzzled. He didn't know what the problem was. Just when Xiaochen was puzzled, he found that the breath in Tang Tang's body suddenly flowed again. She began to cultivate again. Xiaochen thought about it and simply stopped showing the secret manual to Tang Tang. Instead, he carefully observed her cultivation progress. After a round of cultivation, Xiaochen finally found the problem. Although Tang Tang had no mind, she would continue to cultivate. However, the 5 poisons secret manual that she cultivated was only the previous part, that was, the first half, and the second half that Xiaochen had just read to her was not cultivated at all. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what the hell is going on? I have clearly shown the complete 5 poisons secret manual to Tang Tang. Why does she still only cultivate the first half and not the second half? Xiaochen really had no way out. He could only try to ask the Elder Heaven Ancestor for help. Well, I have observed for a while, and now I have an inference. Elder Heaven Ancestor carefully analyzed. Do you remember what Elder Sun said just now, that the medicine injected into Tang Tang will let her cultivate on her own? I remember. Xiaochen nodded. I guess, since Tang Tang was injected with the medicine, she will only cultivate the secret manual that she learned before her mind was controlled, that is, the first half of the 5 poisons secret manual, so that she will continue to cultivate in a cycle, and her strength will not regress. Elder Heaven Ancestor said his inference, but the second half, it must be because she has no mind now, so she doesn't know how to cultivate. This does make sense. Xiaochen also admitted that Elder Heaven Ancestor's inference was very reasonable. He could not help but sigh and said, is there any other way to let her learn to cultivate the second half? Will it work with the method of dual cultivation? Looking at Tang Tang, who was still dull, Xiaochen was a little discouraged. It seemed that he thought too simply. What you're learning isn't the 5 poisons secret manual, what's the use of dual cultivation? Elder Heaven Ancestor scolded Xiaochen, and then said, but you can ask Tian Suruan to guide Tang Tang's cultivation. Didn't she also cultivate the first half of the secret manual? Let her guide Tang Tang to practice. After Tang Tang understands the second half of the script, she can stop. But, there's only one elixir to restrain the poisonous gas, and I've already given it to Tang Tang. Without the elixir's help, if Soran cultivates the 5 poisons secret book, will she become like Tang Qianling, emitting black mist all over her body? Xiaochen frowned and asked uneasily. Although the method provided by the Elder Heaven Ancestor was not bad, it would be troublesome if Tian Soran was poisoned as well. Sour, she loved her appearance so much, so she would definitely not be able to accept her body emitting a black aura. Xiaochen, are you stupid? I said let Tian Soran guide Tang Tang's cultivation, that is, let her assist the circulation of Tang Tang's aura. She doesn't cultivate the 5 poisons secret book, how can she emit black aura? Elder Heaven Ancestor couldn't help but roll his eyes and said angrily. So that's it. That's great, I'll go and find Soran now. After listening to the words of the Elder Heaven Ancestor, Xiaochen finally felt relieved. He immediately stood up, opened the door, and walked to the room where Qing Menjing and the other girls lived. In the room, the soft breathing of girls rose and fell, and from time to time, someone whispered, but he couldn't hear what they were saying. Tian Soran was wearing very sexy pajamas, lying on the bed and sleeping soundly. The corner of her mouth was slightly raised from time to time, as if she was dreaming a very wonderful scene. Soran. Soran. Suddenly, Tian Soran felt that her arm was gently patted a few times, and her dream was disturbed. She couldn't help but frown, murmured, turned over and fell asleep again. Soran, don't sleep, wake up. I have something important to talk to you about. Xiaochen had no choice but to shake Tian Soran's body and whispered. Because the other girls were also sleeping soundly, Xiaochen was afraid to accidentally wake them up, so he lowered his voice as much as possible. Husband Xiaochen. Tian Soran struggled to open her eyes. She was a little unhappy to be woken up in her sleep, but when she saw Xiaochen standing by the bed, her anger suddenly dissipated. It's me, are you awake? Xiaochen saw that Tian Soran finally woke up, and immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Tian Soran half sat up, rubbed her sleepy eyes, and asked confusedly, why don't you go to sleep? Is it because Jia Muzin is back, and you have no place to sleep? Then let's sleep together. Sister Suran's bed is very spacious. No, I have an urgent matter, and I need your help. Xiaochen said with a bitter smile. What's the matter in the middle of the night? Sister Soran is having a sweet dream. When Tian Soran heard that she wasn't sleeping, she immediately pouted and couldn't help but grumble a few words, and then let out a big yawn. Tian Soran's movements were too big, and Xiaochen subconsciously looked down at her sexy pajamas. Although all the places that should be covered were covered, and it wasn't considered revealing, it perfectly displayed her curvaceous figure, causing Xiaochen to swallow his saliva. Ahem, it's hard to explain in a short time. Put on your coat first, and come out with me. Xiaochen was a little embarrassed, and quickly turned his head to grab a coat from the clothes rack, and wrapped her body with it. Tian Soran blinked her eyes blankly, and when she looked down, she realized where Xiaochen was staring at. Her mind flashed, and she suddenly guessed why he woke her up. That. Tian Soran quickly turned over and sat up, and said shyly, Husband Xiaochen, there are too many people here, and it doesn't seem very convenient. Let's find an empty room. And, the weather outside is a little cold. Put on your coat, and then come out with me. The light in the room was dim, and Xiaochen didn't notice the expression on Tian Soran's face. After carefully helping her put on her coat, he quietly held her hand and left the room. Tian Soran was pulled out by Xiaochen. She was a little excited, but she also felt a little shy. She thought that Xiaochen was finally going to have fun with her, but she didn't understand why Xiaochen still wanted her to put on a coat. Could it be? Could it be that they were going to go outside and enjoy fun in the open air? Thinking of this, Tian Soran's adrenaline couldn't help but secrete quickly, and her face suddenly turned as red as a piece of cloth. She didn't expect that her first time would actually be with Xiaochen in the wild. Usually, she only watched those romantic action movies, and there were such scenes. She never thought that she could try it one day. It was simply too exciting. After being led by Xiaochen for a while with excitement, Tian Soran felt that something was wrong. Xiaochen's husband didn't seem to be taking her in the direction of the wild. Chapter 1150. After leaving the room, Xiaochen took Tian Soran's hand and walked for a while. Then, they walked into another room not far away. What surprised Tian Souring the most was that Tang Tang was also there. "Honey, Xiaochen, your hobby is too unique, isn't it?" Tian Souring glanced at Tang Tang and said to Xiaochen with a weird expression. "Ah. What hobby?" Xiaochen looked back blankly. What is Tian Souring talking about? Why can't I understand it? I say, don't tell me you want the three of us to do it together? But Tang Tang hasn't returned to her original appearance. It's not fun to do it. Tian Souring shook her head with a puzzled look. Suddenly, she realized something and said, "Oh, do you want Tang Tang to watch us do it? This is too embarrassing. Sister Souring can't do it." Puff. Xiaochen almost spurted out. He was angry and funny at the same time. He stretched out his finger and gently poked Tian Souring's little head and said, "What are you thinking about? I brought you here not to do it with you, but to ask you to help Tang Tang." "Help? What kind of help?" Tian Souring's expression was a little surprised. "Don't tell me you want to do it with Tang Tang and then ask me to help guide you?" Xiaochen couldn't help but roll his eyes and said helplessly, "I want you to guide Tang Tang to practice the second half of the 5 Poisons secret book. She doesn't know how to practice it herself. Only you can help her now." "Ah. So that's it." Tian Souring curled her lips and muttered to herself, Sister Souring thought God had opened his eyes. "Today, I can finally leave the ranks of the first girls. I didn't expect to keep it up. It seems that sooner or later, Sister Menjing and I will become 2 first girls." After saying that, Tian Souring sighed heavily. It seemed that she was very concerned about the fact that she was still a first girl. "Well, don't let your imagination run wild." Xiaochen bent down to pick up the 5 Poisons secret book on the ground. He knocked on Tian Souring's forehead and then handed it to her. "This 5 Poisons secret book is the complete version. It's different from the one you've seen before. You should familiarize yourself with it first and then try to guide Tang Tang to practice it." "Oh, okay." Tian Souring agreed in frustration. She opened the 5 Poisons secret book and began to read it carefully. Xiaochen smiled and waited quietly. Although Tian Souring was a little, she was still a little. She was still a little. Souring smiled. After reading it a few times, Tian Wangshuo had a general grasp of the second half of the cultivation method. However, she suddenly thought of another problem. This. "Xiaochen, honey, if Tang Tang successfully cultivates the complete 5 Poisons secret manual, won't she be like Tang Qianling, with black gas all over her body?" Tian Wangshuan closed the secret manual and asked with a worried look. She recalled Xiaochen's description of Tang Qianling's appearance when he was shrouded in a black mist. He seemed terrifying, and she felt a lingering fear in her heart. "Don't worry about that," Xiaochen said with a smile. "I've given her a special cultivation elixir in advance, so she shouldn't be emitting black gas. But now Tang Tang has become like this. Even if she finishes practicing the 5 Poisons secret book, what's the use? Don't tell me it can neutralize the poison in her body and wake her up?" Tian Suruan raised another doubt. According to the information I've gathered, if she breaks through to the Martial Highness realm, she'll be able to make the medicine lose its effect completely. Therefore, I want her to cultivate the complete 5 Poisons secret manual in order to increase her strength." Xiaochen rubbed his sore head and added, "If she still can't break through by then, we'll cultivate together and work hard to make her a venerable one." Although Xiaochen didn't have much confidence in his heart, this was the only way. "Oh, that's fine." Tian Suruan agreed obediently and asked, "Honey, Xiaochen, I've finished reading the cultivation method in the secret book. What should I do next?" Xiaochen pointed at Tang Tang and said with a smile, "It's very simple. You just need to circulate your aura according to the cultivation method of the 5 Poisons secret manual to guide Tang Tang's cultivation as you usually do during dual cultivation." "Okay." Tian Suruan nodded and sat cross-legged in front of Tang Tang, waiting for Xiaochen's further instructions. "You can begin now. Don't worry, I'll stand guard at the side to prevent you from going berserk. Xiao Chen sat down as well and patted Tian Sour's head. He instructed solemnly, if you notice anything amiss in the process of guiding them, stop immediately and tell me. Do you understand? Tian Sour's expression turned solemn. Okay, I got it. Tian Suruan took a deep breath, stretched out her hands and put them on Tang Tang's palms, assuming the posture of dual cultivation. Then, she slowly circulated the cultivation method and began to guide Tang Tang to cultivate the 5 Poisons secret book. Since Tian Suruan had never taken the leading position in dual cultivation before, she was still a little nervous at the beginning. The circulation of her aura was very unfamiliar and unskilled, so the progress of cultivation was also very slow. After a period of time, Tian Suruan's mood gradually calmed down, and the circulation of her aura became more and more skilled. She didn't find anything wrong in the cultivation, so she tried to gradually speed up the cultivation and enter the right track of dual cultivation. Although Xiao Chen had no experience in this aspect, he could only sit quietly beside the 2 women and watch. He couldn't intervene and help, but he didn't dare to be careless. His spirit had been in a state of high concentration. His eyes were fixed on Tian Suruan and Tang Tang, ready to help them solve the crisis as long as there was something wrong. As time went by, Tian Suruan's aura circulation became more and more skilled, and the speed of guidance became faster and faster. Her aura and Tang Tang's had been integrated, and the cultivation became more and more convenient. Tian Suruan's face glowed. Thinking that this time she could finally help Xiao Chen's husband instead of being the one who held him back, she was very happy and became more focused in the dual cultivation. After a while, Tian Suruan felt a little heat in her dantian. She didn't care because she was concentrating on the dual cultivation. She just divided a little attention to check her body. Ah! Tian Suruan suddenly cried out in alarm. He immediately stopped circulating his mental cultivation method and withdrew his hands. His entire body was still in a state of shock as he sprawled on the ground, panting heavily. Just now, she found that she didn't know when it started. She was also automatically cultivating the second half of the 5 Poisons secret book. Xiao Chen was shocked by Tian Suruan's action. Seeing her lying on the ground trembling slightly, her little face pale, and her forehead covered with beads of sweat, he quickly took out a handkerchief from his arms and carefully wiped the sweat for her. Then he asked softly, Suruan, what's wrong with you? Why did you suddenly stop? I didn't find any signs of Qigong deviation. Chapter 1151. Xiao Chen hubby, Big Sister Sourness is doomed. Big Sister Sourness is going to be disfigured, boo-hoo. Tian Sourness had a look of horror on her face as she held on to Xiao Chen's hand and stuttered. As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. I'm here. Sourness is fine. Xiao Chen comforted her and waited for Tian's sourness to calm down before asking softly, did something happen just now? Can you tell me? I suddenly realized that I've started cultivating the second half of the 5 Poisons secret manual. And I can't stop even if I want to. As Tian's sourness spoke, she sounded like she was about to cry again. What should I do? Big Sister Sourness doesn't want to become like Tang Qianling, emitting black mist all over. That's too scary. Feeling a cold breeze on her back, Tian's sourness subconsciously reached out to touch it. She realized that her entire shirt was drenched in sweat. She couldn't help but pucker her lips. Finally, she couldn't help but burst into tears. Don't cry. Sourness, don't be too nervous. Let me check for you. Xiao Chen helped Tian's sourness wipe her tears. Then, he released his divine sense to carefully observe her surroundings. However, he didn't discover any trace of black mist emitting from her body. He couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Hubby Xiao Chen, is my body starting to emit black mist? Is it very ugly? Tian's sourness saw the confusion on Xiao Chen's face as she asked while sobbing. No, your body isn't emitting any qi at all. Come, let me take your pulse. Xiaochen shook his head and held Tian Sourness's hand. Then, he injected a trace of yuan qi and circulated it through her body. After a round of inspection, Xiaochen discovered that there were no other problems with Tian Wenchuan's body. Only his dantian seemed to be a little strange. He carefully sensed it again and could sense an aura lingering around his dantian. However, there were no other abnormalities. What made Xiaochen a little puzzled was that this aura actually gave him a familiar feeling, but for a moment, he couldn't determine what it was. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen turned around. There was no black gas on Tang Tang's body either. He observed for a while and grabbed Tang Tang's hand. After injecting a sliver of primordial energy into Tang Tang's body, Xiaochen looked inside again. He discovered that her dantian was the same as Tian Souring's. There was a familiar aura lingering around. However, Tang Tang's aura was stronger, while Tian Souring's aura was slightly weaker. After probing back and forth a few times, Xiaochen found that although the aura was sometimes strong and sometimes weak, it always existed in their bodies. Fortunately, it did not cause any harm to their bodies. Rubbing his nose, Xiaochen felt a little depressed. After checking for a long time, other than that aura, he didn't find anything strange at all. Could it be that this aura prevented Tian Souring's black mist from coming out after her cultivation? In desperation, Xiaochen had to ask Elder Heaven Ancestor for help. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what's going on with the aura in their dantian? There doesn't seem to be such a thing in the 5 Poisons secret book. Stupid. Isn't that the aura from the elixir you gave Tang Tang before? Elder Heaven Ancestor lectured lazily. After that elixir was absorbed by Tang Tang, it dissolved into the true qi of the 5 Poisons secret book. You can also call it devil qi. I see. Xiaochen's eyes lit up, but he was a little puzzled. Then why does Tian Souring have it in her body? Could it be? You're not too stupid after all. Yes, it's because of the dual cultivation just now. Elder Heaven Ancestor explained slowly. Tang Tang took the whole elixir, so the aura in her body is more vigorous. During the process of dual cultivation, Tian Souring's aura blended with Tang Tang's, exchanging and circulating, so she also absorbed a small part of it. But in the end, it's not as much as Tang Tang's, so the aura will be weaker. So, Tian Souring can also cultivate the second half of the 5 Poisons secret book. Furthermore, she won't emit a black mist like Tang Qianling did, right? Xiaochen was overjoyed and asked. Since the aura in the 2 women's dantian was transformed by the elixir, there was no problem. If Elder Heaven Ancestor's inference was right, then there would be no more worries when cultivating. Yes. But their cultivation is too low, so they can't rely on their own strength to absorb the efficacy of the elixir, so the elixir hasn't fully played its role yet. Elder Heaven Ancestor nodded and added, anyway, now that Tang Tang has learned the second half of the 5 Poisons secret book, you can cultivate with them. While quickly improving their strength, you can also help them digest and absorb the efficacy of the elixir. After that, Elder Heaven Ancestor didn't say anything. Anyway, Xiaochen was already familiar with the 3 cultivators, so he didn't need any more help later. Oh, I see. Xiaochen breathed a sigh of relief and turned to look at Tian Souring. She had calmed down from her emotions just now and was now looking at Xiaochen eagerly. Honey, Xiaochen, can Sister Souring be cured? Tian Souring blinked her eyes and pursed her lips. If it doesn't work, why don't I give myself to you before the black mist comes out? Stop, stop, stop. You're fine. Don't worry. Here's the thing. Xiaochen shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He briefly explained the ins and outs of the matter to Tian Souring. After listening, Tian Souring finally breathed a sigh of relief. Since she didn't have to become like Tang Qianling, and at the same time, she could have higher strength than now, why not? After figuring everything out, Tian Souring was ready to cultivate with Tang Tang under the guidance of Xiaochen. Since they had been tossing and turning for a long time, the night was about to pass. The sky was turning white. Xiao thought for a while and cautiously woke up Qing Menjing and the others before cultivating. He explained the situation to them and arranged for them to guard outside the door. Although Qing Menjing and the others were still a little sleepy, they didn't complain when they heard that they were going to help Tang Tang recover her consciousness. They all agreed. After giving them a few simple instructions, Xiao closed the door and returned to his room to prepare for the 3 cultivators. Tian Souring and Xiao had cultivated many times, so they were very familiar with it. Just now, Tang Tang and Tian Souring's aura had also been circulating perfectly, so the 3 of them quickly entered the state of cultivation. The cultivation did not know how long it had been. Suddenly, Xiao felt a strong aura erupt from Tang Tang's body. It swam wildly in her meridians, constantly expanding her meridians. In addition, Tang Tang's devil energy was also growing exponentially, and it was still increasing. Every time her devil energy circulated a great circle, it would double in size and wander in the meridians that were expanded by another aura. Chapter 1152. In the blink of an eye, the 2 auras circulated 3 times in Tang Tang's body. Then, one went from top to bottom, and the other from bottom to top. They split into 2 paths and surged into her dantian at the same time. Boom! When the devil chi and the aura merged in Tang Tang's dantian, a loud bang was heard. A violent shock wave spread out from Tang Tang's body, sending Xiao Chen and Tian Yuanchuan flying. They fell heavily on the ground not far away. Fortunately, Xiao Chen and Tian Yuanchuan were in a state of cultivation. Their bodies were full of auras, so they were only a little unprepared for the fall. After Tang Tang exploded, she closed her eyes and fainted. But when she fell to the ground, her eyelids suddenly moved a few times. Xiao Chen, I didn't expect you to be here so early. Let's go. We can sell breakfast after we set up the stall. Huh. Your fried dough sticks look good, and they're quite delicious. We're going to be rich. Tang Tang, why didn't you tell me you were sick? Don't sell breakfast. I'll go buy some medicine for you first. Leave the breakfast stall to me. Pfft. Tang Tang, you're your cousin? But I'm not used to seeing you like this. The original fat Tang Tang is better. Tang Tang, have you thought it through? If you don't replace your mother, then her life will be in danger. Xiao Chen, I'm leaving. I hope you take care of yourself and don't come looking for me. Countless fragmented memory fragments rushed into Tang Tang's brain. They were reorganized like a slideshow, quickly filling up her originally empty brain. It made her feel like her entire head was swollen and painful. After a while, the memory fragments gradually stopped rushing in. Tang Tang moaned and slowly opened her eyes. The first thing that came into view was Xiao Chen's handsome face that she was very familiar with. Beside him stood a very beautiful woman. Both of them looked very nervous. But what surprised Tang Tang the most was that they were not wearing clothes. Tang Tang blinked her eyes and saw the 2 of them say something, but her ears were buzzing and she couldn't hear anything clearly. Husband Xiao Chen, look. Tang Tang is awake. When the tinnitus gradually disappeared and her hearing was restored, the first sentence she heard was from the strange beauty in front of her who was holding Xiao Chen's hand. Who was this tanned beauty? How does she know my name? Why did she call Xiao Chen her husband? Wasn't Xiao Chen supposed to marry Qing Menjing? What was going on? Tang Tang, how do you feel? Are you hurt or in pain anywhere? Xiao Chen stared at Tang Tang and asked with a dignified look. Then, he grabbed Tang Tang's hand and immediately checked her with his primordial qi. He was relieved to find that the shock did not cause any internal injury to her. Xiao Chen. What's wrong with me? What is this place? Tang Tang moved her lips. Her throat could make sounds, but she couldn't even say a complete sentence. Because she hadn't spoken for a long time, and Tang Tang's brain had just been freed from the control of the potion, she couldn't organize words for a while, and her speech was also intermittent. She tried hard to turn her head and look around at the strange environment around her. Tang Tang felt that her mind was blank, and she was a little scared. Fortunately, the familiar Xiao Chen in front of her could give her a little comfort. Tang Tang didn't realize that she was holding Xiao Chen's hand tightly, and refused to let go for a moment. This is the Jia family of the internal martial arts world. Someone used a potion to control your mind, and then brought you to the Jia family. But it's okay now. You've become a venerable master, and you've completely gotten rid of the potion in your body. You're just a little weak, and you'll be fine after a good rest for a while. Xiao Chen suppressed the excitement in his heart and explained softly. When he checked Tang Tang's body just now, Xiao Chen found that she had successfully leveled up and made a breakthrough. Although she was only half a step away from the venerable master, as long as she took some time to consolidate her cultivation, it wouldn't take long for her to reach the first level of the venerable master. The Jia family of the internal martial arts world. Venerable master. I was controlled by a potion? What? Tang Tang frowned and tried hard to recall, but she couldn't remember anything. She tried to think again, but she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her brain. She couldn't help but groan, ouch. My head hurts so much. Xiao Chen, why don't I have any impression of what you said? Well, Tang Tang, don't think so much. You've just woken up, so you'd better rest for a while. Seeing Tang Tang like this, Xiao Chen couldn't help but feel distressed. He hurriedly activated his primordial qi and gently massaged her head a few times. He didn't stop until Tang Tang gradually fell asleep. Honey, Xiao Chen, what's going on with Tang Tang? Tian Suruan scratched her head in confusion. Sister Suruan, I felt that she had returned to normal and could speak, but then it seemed that she was a little abnormal. It's okay. She may have temporary amnesia. She should only remember the things in the past, but she has no memory of what happened recently. Xiao Chen stared at Tang Tang's cheek, brushed away the hair on her face, and whispered, but it's not a big deal. As long as she has a good rest for a few days, she will slowly recover. Oh, then. Ah! Tian Suruan suddenly exclaimed. She had inadvertently looked down just now and found that her clothes were gone. She quickly grabbed a bath towel and wrapped her body with it, her face as red as an apple. Xiao Chen couldn't help shaking his head and smiling. He also took 2 blankets and wrapped Tang Tang and himself. He hadn't practiced double cultivation or triple cultivation for a long time. He had forgotten just now that the clothes on his body would explode when he broke through. He used to take off his clothes before he began to practice. Obviously, he was careless this time. In fact, Xiao Chen didn't expect that the power of Tang Tang's breakthrough would be so great. Not only did her own clothes explode, but even the clothes of Xiao Chen and Tian Suruan were all burned. As a result, all 3 of them were naked. Tian Suruan suddenly had an idea. She looked at Tang Tang, who was sleeping soundly, and said, "Oh, Sister Suruan knows. It's that acute temporary mental disorder, right?" Seeing that Xiao Chen nodded, Tian Suruan said angrily, "Tang Tang is so pitiful. She finally recovered to be an ordinary person, but she lost her memory again. Humph, those people who injected her with the potion really deserve to die. If Sister Suruan meets them, I'll punch them into meat paste." Chapter 1153. After that, Tian Wangshou still refused to stop. She waved her small fist as if demonstrating, channeling her mind, and punched out. Boom! Before anyone could react, the entire door was blasted into pieces. Even the wall on the side was cracked. Cheng Menjing and the others' screams could be heard from outside the door. What's going on? What's going on? Cheng Menjing asked. Tian Wangshou was dumbfounded. She looked at the debris on the ground and then at her fist. She was so surprised that she opened her mouth wide and couldn't speak. Wangshou, I forgot to tell you that when Tang Tang leveled up just now, you also broke through with her. Xiao Chen rubbed his temple with a little headache and said helplessly, "You are a Demon King Great Perfection powerhouse now. You can't just mess around." Xiao Chen really didn't expect Tian Wangshou to do such a stupid thing, but it was also his fault for reminding her first. Fortunately, the people outside the door were not injured because of this. Otherwise, it would be big trouble. This. Tian Wangshuo was still in a daze. She looked down at her hands with an unbelievable expression on her face. Before Tian Wangshuo could react, a group of people rushed into the room. Qing Menjing shook off the dust on her body and took the lead to ask, "Xiao Chen, what happened? Did someone come to sneak attack?" Looking at the girls who were originally beautiful, but now all looked dusty, Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and pointed at Tian Wangshuo. Before he could speak, he heard footsteps coming from outside. After a while, Jia Muzin also ran over with the guards. Looking at the messy room and Xiao Chen and others wrapped in blankets and bath towels, he was a little stunned. After coming back to his senses, Jia Muzin first waved the guards away, then he asked nervously, "Xiao Chen, what's going on? Did those despicable guys from Awaken Gate send people again?" No, it's actually Sister Wangshuo's fault. I accidentally smashed the door." Tian Wangshuo finally woke up. She stuck out her little tongue and raised her hand to confess in embarrassment. She didn't expect that she would cause such a big commotion. Also, when did she level up? Why don't I have any impression of him? Forget it. Sour, just be careful in the future. Jia Muzin, you wouldn't mind if Sour smashed your door, right? Xiao Chen didn't care too much about it. Instead, he joked with Jia Muzin. When he had just obtained the strength of a cultivator, he had also accidentally smashed the wall of the dormitory, so he could understand Tian Suruan's feelings very well. "Oh. No. I'll get someone to fix it later. It's not a big deal. You guys can move to another room." Jia Muzin quickly waved his hand and looked at Tian Souring enviously. If others could break through so quickly, why couldn't he? I should ask Xiao Chen for advice some other day. Xiao Chen chuckled. He picked up Tang Tang with one hand and pulled Tian Souring with the other. He said to everyone, "Well, Tang Tang is fine now. Let's send her to another room to rest and then change into clean clothes. I'll explain it to you in detail later." After that, Xiao Chen took the two women to another room and settled Tang Tang down. Then, he and Tian Souring cleaned up and came out to give a brief account of the previous situation to everyone. Alas, Tang Tang is really pitiful. Not only was she injected with medicine, but now she has lost part of her memory. I hope she can recover soon. After listening to Xiao Chen's account, Qing Menjing sighed slightly. Although she didn't like Tang Tang very much before and always felt that she had stolen her fiancé, she had already gotten over it after so many things. So, she was very sympathetic to Tang Tang's experience at this time. Don't worry, Tang Tang only has temporary amnesia. It may be that after the breakthrough, her brain suddenly received a shock, which caused her to become like this. It won't take long for her to slowly remember. Xiao Chen smiled slightly and said. He was quite familiar with the symptoms of temporary amnesia. As long as the patient was no longer stimulated by the outside world, she could basically recover 100% as long as the patient was allowed to rest for a while. That's good. We are all waiting for her to recover. It's a lot of people to chat with. Ling Qinxue said with a smile. When Xiao Chen was not there, they had been taking care of Tang Tang. She also heard Qing Menjing talk about the past, so she was very concerned about Tang Tang. That. Xiao Chen, I have something to tell you. Jia Muzin stood on the side for a long time. At this time, he finally found a chance to speak and quickly said. What's wrong? What happened? Xiao Chen looked up and saw the guilty look on Jia Muzin's face. He was a little surprised and asked. Jia Muzin hesitated for a moment and said, a few days ago, at the family banquet, I happened to get a piece of news. It may be about your father, what? Xiao Chen suddenly stood up and walked in front of Jia Muzin. He asked eagerly, what news? I heard that in addition to the Venerable Secret Land, there is another very mysterious place in the inner martial world. That place is more advanced than the Venerable Secret Land. Your father may also be sent there, Jia Muzin said in a deep voice. When he got the news, Jia Muzin planned to immediately find Xiao Chen and tell him the news. However, because there were too many people who wanted to toast to him at the banquet, he couldn't get away. Because he couldn't drink, he was drunk and passed out. In the end, he was carried back to his room by the servants. When Jia Muzin woke up the next day, he found that Xiao Chen, Tang Tang, and Tian Suruan were practicing in the room, while Qing Menjing and the others were guarding them outside. Jia Muzin didn't want to go in and disturb them, so he could only put this matter aside for the time being. As a result, he accidentally delayed it until now, so he felt a little guilty. Is this news reliable? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Xiao Chen couldn't help but frown. Then he remembered that he seemed to have practiced for a long time. He touched his nose a little embarrassedly and apologized. I'm sorry, it's not your fault. I only focused on practicing with Tang Tang and the others. As for how many days I stayed in the room, I have no idea. It doesn't matter. You were just anxious. Jia Muzin waved his hand and didn't mind. He added, you have practiced for 4 days. Today is the 5th day. Originally, I wanted to let Qing Menjing in to see the situation, but I was afraid that it would affect your practice, so I waited until you finished. Is there anything else besides this news? Xiao Chen nodded and continued to ask, you're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.